Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory Online Summit, Day 6. This is Gertrude Macha here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia, and it gives me great pleasure to bring on board our first group of speakers who came in from all over the world. Now, before I start, I would like to acknowledge the land on which I am standing. As you know, I am in Melbourne, Australia at the moment, and it is a custom that before you start a gathering, we are gathering on a virtual platform right now, you acknowledge the land you stand on. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So thank you for joining me wherever you are in the world. I've got an exciting lineup of speakers from every corner of the globe. So we're going to start off with a series of short presentations that came in globally. Enjoy.
I started out as a lonely child, ostracized by my peers because I and my family were culturally, politically, and spiritually different from the other families in the community. For me, love of sports and love of writing were my two twin passions, something that gave me a sense of accomplishment and joy in the face of total rejection. At 11, I had an epiphany. If I could marry these two passions, I could become a sports writer at a time where there were no women sports writers. I imagined that I could be one. And with that vision in mind and a passion to learn to write journalistic prose, I worked day and night to climb the ladder. And despite constant ridicule and dismission by my peers, especially the boys, and skepticism by adults with the exception of my parents, I persevered. And by 22, I had been at the Detroit Free Press, Associated Press, on the front pages of the Los Angeles Times, and at the Washington Post. I went on to have one of the largest sports and special events public relations agencies in America, with a world-class client list, while others still scoffed that I would never succeed. So I urge you to never give up your dreams. Stay the course, follow your heart, and ignore what others say, think, or do. You are the only one that counts when it comes to choosing your path. I'm Jackie Lappin, and I am thrilled to be part of Herstory so that I can help guide you on ways to make your mission and message get the attention.
Be fab and colourful. My name's Pip Oxlade. I love inspiring women to step into their true power. I speak passionately from the heart because I know in all of us we have a rainbow. We just need to sometimes remember we have a rainbow, and we are the rainbow. I'm called the Rainbow Lady sometimes because I always wear colourful clothes, but when I wear black, people go, "Where's your colour gone?" But of course it's still here. But back in 2008, I was faced with the most frightening situation, which was cancer in my womb. After 17 years of infertility, I found out that if I didn't go down the chemotherapy route, I would die. If I did go down the chemotherapy route, it would end any chance of me naturally falling pregnant. So I walked away from the doctor. But a week later, I went back because my tumour markers were just going so sky high. I'm now cured. I'm okay. It's 11 years on. But you know, what that did was it took me to that brink of despair, that void. And so my story will come from that heartfelt space of how I lifted myself up in the most realistic, practical way, using Reiki, Theta healing, colour and different techniques in order to do that. And so I've written this book, Being in Colour, whilst I was on chemotherapy. This book here is Cosmic Radiance Discovery. It's 8 modules of how to develop your psychic skills and intuition. And then When the Goddess Calls has just reached #1 in 5 categories on Amazon, collaboration of 19 women's stories in that book. I really feel after 20 years of being a nurse and a midwife, I've got so much to offer women to help you understand yourself, to find that rainbow, even in the grey, cloudy days, and help you to be the best you can be.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Jenkins. I'm 40 years old. I'm a mum to 1 boy and a stepmum to 2 girls and 1 boy. I live in Cambridge in the Waikato and I own a business. My story is about employment and how that impacts us as humans and why it's so important for us as leaders, especially those who employ people, to make sure that we actually look after them and treat them with respect and dignity. So when I was 18, I worked for a produce and butchery. I was told by my employer at the time that I could actually go out the back with the produce boy and we could do whatever we wanted. And then he wondered why I quit the next week. And then I worked for a New World who basically put me down in my performance appraisal because I was religious and I didn't do any extracurricular activities with the team that I worked in, although I was one of their best checkout operators at the time. I've had an employer who's told me or called me by a name of Blondie until at least the next Blondie came along and took my place. I've got loads of experiences around that, and I suppose for me, as an entrepreneur and as a leader, I really want to discuss how we as women can make the workplace a better place and to inspire those who are employers to make some great choices. So hopefully this video finds you well and hopefully I come on board. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, my name is Gina Mitchell and I'm 61 years old and I live in Sydney, Australia. And my story goes like this. It was a cold winter's Sydney day and I got up in the morning and I'd done my normal routine. And then I got into the shower and I just couldn't take it anymore. I slid down the wall of the shower and I knew that I could not go on any longer. I picked myself up and I went into the bedroom with the towel wrapped around me, and my husband looked at me and I said to him, I can't do this anymore. I just can't go on. I can't go back to school. I just can't go back. Pete, my husband, knew that there was something wrong for a very long time, and he'd said to me on a number of occasions, even years before, Gina, something's not right with you. Something's really going on with you and you need to deal with it. But of course, the stubborn old me said, no, I'll be okay. Just leave me alone. Let me deal with it. And of course, he was right that morning because I couldn't go on any longer. I was totally exhausted. I wasn't sleeping and it was just the end. The whole thing was that it was menopause. I was a science teacher. I thought I knew about menopause, but apparently not. I really had no clue that this was what menopause was all about. I thought I'd have some hot flushes. I thought I'd have some, the cessation of my cycle, which would have been fine with me, but it was so much bigger than that. And the thing is, why don't we talk about it more? Why don't women know? Why didn't I know? As a biology teacher, I didn't even know. And I was thinking to myself, if I didn't know, what about all the other women out there that don't have a science background? What do they think is happening? So I had to do something about it. And that was the start of my new life.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Crawford and I live in the beautiful city of Newcastle in Australia, in New South Wales, and it's a lovely part of the world. And hi to you wherever you are. I am 47 years old and I would like to share my story with you. And part of my story is all around how I developed a Thriver mindset. So a Thriver mindset is a mindset that allows you to deal with life and deal with things that come your way with ease and grace. And it means that you don't experience a lot of stress. You are someone who is able to be very resourceful about things that are going on around you, even in difficult situations like with COVID and other difficult situations. My early work experience was in refugee camps in war zones all around the world, starting off in Africa, in different countries in Africa. And I've worked a lot with refugees, I've worked a lot with people in organizations, I've worked a lot with CEOs. And what I started to notice is that it was the mindset of these people that they seemed to have in common that either helped them become resourceful and deal with their circumstances, or made them feel as though they were overwhelmed and they couldn't really do anything about the situation that they were actually in. Mindset is a very powerful term. It's a very powerful concept. If you understand it and you understand how you can leverage your own mindset and really shift it to make anything possible in your world, then your world is a much easier place. So I would love to be able to share my story in a little more depth with the She Story Network. So I look forward to meeting each of you and seeing you on the upcoming conference. Cheers.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Marianne Hogsett. This Memorial Day 2020. I have a story to share with you. At 33 years, I was finally interested in having my own children. 2 children arrived in 1990 and 93. Perfect planning with more on the way, as my mother had her 12th child and final at 41 years of age. I was number 2 of a dozen, and of course I could bring in more kids later in life. She did. However, 5 years of trying, my poor sister Sheila knew only the disappointment and helplessness of trying to conceive, always failing. I offered to be her gestational surrogate in 1994. Having a baby by a sister seemed more remote a possibility than another frozen embryo transfer. This was going to be my child with her husband, given to her and Dean. Although technology was difficult and the logistics and human engineering was all so complicated, trying to ensure all of our wellness. And I was going to be 40 when this baby was born. We got a lot of unsolicited advice and the literature was very scary, but we knew we could do it. Never would have considered this 10 years ago. Until having my own kids, I would never consider the exigency or consider teaching. But it was my interest in the love relationship which kindled the broader interest in child development. My surrogacy was perceived in extremes. It was either perceived as a fairy tale or a nightmare. I found that the extremes expressed about this surrogacy were not greatly different from the extreme views surrounding education. All were emotionally charged. But because I loved my sister and wanted to help, I went ahead with this. It wasn't a crusade, and I became a teacher later in life. With perseverance and determination, I've made education a fascinating journey. No regrets, never an obligation. Thank you.
Perfect. You got this in 2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes.
Did I do it in 2 minutes? I cut a bunch out. That was just
Perfect.
bullshit. Now, all I have to do.
Hi, I'm Carla Merrill. I'm 43 years old and I live in Palm City, Florida. And this is my story. $5,000. That's all I have left after 3 years in business. I feel a cold sweat down my spine and a doom in my chest that I can only describe as fear. If I don't get a client, actually a couple clients this month, I am going to have to close my business. So I take my planner and I flip the pages frantically looking for the things that I did wrong and the things that I did right. Because if I do less of the things that I do wrong and more of the things that I did right, I can find the answer. I'm a smart woman. I flip and I flip and I find nothing. I find nothing because there's no pattern. All I see is random social media posts, word of mouth, and sales calls. There's no strategy, no roadmap, and not enough clients. Therefore, what I have is not a business, it's a very expensive hobby. This is the time that I need to either take action or quit. And quit sounded so much easier at that moment. So I took action. I took the $5,000 that I had and I did something that I consider now an investment. I asked for help. God, is so hard to ask for help. And I asked for help because I needed somebody to show me the blind spots that I couldn't see by myself. I asked for help because I felt like I was living inside a jar and somebody need to read me the label that was outside. I asked for help because I knew enough to think that I had all the answers, and I didn't know enough to know that I was doing everything wrong. I believe every woman has the ability to create and run a business that is not only satisfying to their soul, but is also profitable. And all we need to do sometimes is ask for help. I cannot wait to bring this message to the Herstory conference, because in my story, you might be able to find yourself and ask for help. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Tracy Rosales. I'm 42 years old and I live in San Diego, California, USA. As Joseph Campbell stated once, we must be willing to get rid of the life we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. This is my story. I had the plan, age 20, age 25, age 30. I was a dreamer and I knew what I wanted to accomplish with each major year. Is anyone else a dreamer? Have you all made plans? And then things change. From the outside looking in, I had it all. The house, the kid, the family. And yet on the inside, things weren't right. And then a knock on the door, and everything in my life completely shattered and turned upside down. And I even saw that the pieces of the life that I knew I was living was all fake. That's when the real adventure began. The life that I was meant to lead, that I was gonna have to dare to embrace, dare to be brave, dare to show my kid that we could walk away with nothing but each other and still have a good life. That's when it was time for me to hold up the mirror and see that the beauty of a plan that falls to pieces is what Joseph Campbell was talking about. That the life you've planned is not the life that you were meant to lead. And my life always has been like that.
My name is Faye Lawand. I'm 50 years old and this is my story. I was born in Lebanon in the Middle East.
Hello everyone, my name is Tracy Eamon and I live in Langley, BC, British Columbia, Canada. I am 51 years old and 10 years ago I got the message that no one wants to get, that I had cancer. I had breast cancer and I'm coming up now to 10 years cancer free. During that time though, people asked me to share my message and eventually I decided that that's really what I wanted to do, and I wanted to bring together other women who had stories about how they found the silver lining in their cancer diagnosis, whether it be with their family member or themselves. And I wanted to be able to share the stories of others with really the world. I was that person sitting there in the waiting rooms, and the People magazines just, I didn't want to look at the People magazines. I was feeling, I didn't have any hair. I was feeling awful. I didn't want to see beautiful people. I wanted to be able to relate to somebody else that was going through the same thing as myself. So I put together this book and brought in these incredible women authors to share their messages, and with the goal of getting the silver lining of cancer in waiting rooms across the world. And I would love for people to be able to just pick up the book open up to a chapter, and that's the chapter that they need to read that day. I'm really looking forward to being a part of your event and being able to share my message that no matter how bad things are, there is a silver lining. Sometimes you just got to really dig deep and look for it. But, whether it be making memories, making a change, supporting someone, just giving someone that smile, that reason to smile. So I look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you.
Just a few years before the start of the Lebanese Civil War. And even though my family and I were fortunate enough to leave behind the geographical area of conflict pretty early on in the game, I took those patterns of internal conflict with me as we moved around from city to city, country to country, one part of the world to the other. And of course, growing up, I wasn't aware that this was going on. I was so identified with the stories I was hearing around me that we're lucky, we got out early, we're unaffected by the war. That became my narrative. I never questioned it. Until the time that I turned 40 and my life really came crashing in around me, and all those internal conflicts caught up with me in a very, very real way. Nothing was working out, nothing going according to plan. A feeling of sheer exhaustion, unhappiness, dread, hollowness. Life was really a struggle. It was really, really exhausting. And then a health diagnosis stopped me in my tracks and really forced me to take a good hard look at my life. See, in that moment, I knew I couldn't afford to ignore this scary manifestation of unresolved internal conflict. And that was the start of my journey to help myself to resolve those unresolved internal conflicts so that I could resolve my health issues and get back on track with my life. And what I came to understand through that journey is what was happening on the inside was 100% responsible for what wasn't working on the outside. Those internal conflicts that were unresolved from earlier on in life, those were the issues. It wasn't the issues that were the issues. And as I resolved those internal conflicts, the health issues resolved, the energy issues resolved, and the life issues resolved. And now I'm able to be, feel, do, have what I want in life. It's wonderful.
Hello, my name is Sharon Holton, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And here's my story. I have a confession to make. I spent way too much of my life living in fear. I wondered, was I going to lose my job? Was I going to have enough money to pay my bills, buy a house, retire comfortably? Was I going to be alone for the rest of my life? These and many other concerns plagued me. Sometimes they paralyzed me. Sometimes they interfered with my sleep and my personal relationships. I was living life as a victim instead of as a victor. And then I learned that that was not how God intended for me to live my life. He intended for me to live a life that was joyous and free, one that was abundant, not necessarily without troubles, but one that was full of joy and of confidence and of peace, that I could live my life even though. And so over the years, I have learned that. I have gotten those tools that have helped me to walk through trials differently than I did in the past, with much more peace, much more hope, much more confidence and faith. And it's such a better way to live. If you're struggling with fears right now, if you can relate to my story, if you're worried about the future, I'd like to invite you to join the Herstory conference that's online in early June. And there you'll have the opportunity to hear me tell more details about my story, about taking the next step to overcome fear with faith. I hope you'll be able to join us. I look forward to seeing you then. God bless.
Hi, my name is Catherine Hindmarsh. I'm an NLP trainer and speaker from Melbourne. I run NLP trainings along the east coast of Australia, and I'm also branch director for Business and Heals Melbourne and East. The story that I'm really passionate about sharing is not allowing fear to be in the driver's seat. 6 years ago, I got out of a toxic relationship that was emotionally and mentally abusive. The reason I share this story is because I find that women need to start loving themselves for who they are. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves of what we should be, what we should be doing, and what society thinks is appropriate for us. What I'm passionate about sharing is sharing with women how they can learn to love themselves and make decisions that are right for them. I chose not to let fear dictate my future. I was in a stage where I was very isolated emotionally. I was put down constantly, and I chose to start loving myself and taking the steps that were necessary to move away from that toxic environment and start loving myself. I changed careers. I moved states from Gold Coast to Melbourne. I moved to a place that I knew basically nobody, started a new career, and really stepped into my future, and it has catapulted me into the success that I have now and the love that I have now with a brand new baby who's 11 months old. If I chose to keep going down that path of fear, I don't know where I'd be now, but I can tell you that I wouldn't have the happiness, the empowerment, the courage to step out and share with people. My trainer really helped me empower myself. I learned the tools that I use now, which is the tools of NLP, and I'd really like to share some of the most effective tools that women can use every day to empower themselves.
What a fascinating start to our day. A series of video shorts from women from all over the world auditioning to be part of the Herstory movement. Now, our next speaker is coming to us from Zimbabwe. This is a young woman that I met through a WhatsApp campaign that I had running. And I was trying to create a database to inspire young women and older women from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Southern Africa in general, to come on board. Now, this is a young mother whose little baby had to have heart surgery. And Violet is an incredible woman. Her name is Violet Mabena. She lives in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe. And she tells the story of the pain of her 2-year-old baby going through heart surgery and the challenge that she is having right now with this child. So she didn't have access to the internet, and I asked her to send me an audio file. So I created a short little video that I will play now, and you will get to hear her story, the struggle she has, and perhaps there will be somebody out there that can help her as well. So thank you so much for contributing your story.
Hello everyone, my name is Ms. Tandai Moyo from Brave Little Hearts, Zimbabwe, a support network for children living with heart disease. I began this project in 2018 when I lost my daughter to the disease. She went through a number of challenges that I rose to see that they only did not affect her, but many other children in Zimbabwe were being affected by these same challenges. She faced a late diagnosis, just like any other children diagnosed with heart disease. They faced this major challenge of late diagnosis, and we also went through the challenges of accessing specialist care, as in the region where I stayed, we had no specialist doctors to look after the heart. And we also faced challenges with access to medication. Anti-heart failure medication is not found in hospitals and clinics, but it is found in private pharmacies. and it is very expensive. You look at a budget of approximately $50 monthly, and she faced the challenge of access to surgery, as we were referred to India for her open heart surgery, and it was costing approximately 15,000 to 20,000 US dollars for us to go and get that life-saving surgery. But we did not have access to such kind of funding, as much as any Zimbabwean today struggles both in the urban and rural setting to raise such kind of money to save their children. This burden escalates to the fact that very few children live up to the age of 5 years without medical intervention, which includes these life-saving heart surgeries we are talking about. So as an advocacy group, we are lobbying for our government to take up the burden of a CHD in our nation, to implement policies that can actually work to save lives in these communities. We are advocating for a compulsory oximeter reading for every newborn child here in Zimbabwe, so that there is early diagnosis of this disease, as most of the times it is recognized very late when the child is now critical. We are also advocating for the equipping of our hospitals for these surgeries to be done here locally in Zimbabwe, instead of children having to travel overseas, as many cannot, excuse me, raise the 15,000 or 20,000 that is required. We are also lobbying for the government to train more specialists to handle these children. Currently, we've only got 2 pediatric cardiologists, one of them stationed at Mpilo. She is the only one attached to government. The other one is a private cardiologist, pediatric cardiologist in Harare. And it does not suffice for the treatment of our children, as we are talking approximately 12,000 children every year born with this disease. One in every 100 children is born with this disease. The numbers are too high for us to ignore, and it needs a multi-sectoral approach in order for these lives to be saved. We are engaging with our Ministry of Health and other stakeholders in our country for measures to be taken urgently to save these children's lives. Measures from early diagnosis to treatment and to aftercare. So it is indeed a long process, because while we're advocating for these local sustainable solutions, we have children who are urgently in need of surgeries. So we are trying that they be getting surgeries overseas, both in India and in South Africa. But in South Africa, the prices are a bit more on the expensive side. It's almost double that in India. So you find that most who can actually afford end up going to India despite the distances. Our hope is for our government to cultivate relationships with some of these countries locally in the Afro region who actually do these surgeries, so that our children can be accessing surgery while we ourselves are working on our own homegrown solutions. So it is indeed sad, the impact of COVID-19 on these communities, because, as you know, COVID has been very deadly, more so to these children who've got heart disease. We've watched and buried our children one after the other until we could not speak any more words of condolences to each other. And all we can silently hope for is that we have interventions and solutions, because it indeed is very difficult to watch your child die and know that there is nothing that you can do about it because you do not have access to resources. But in my understanding to the human rights, health is a right to every living human being, both young and old, and cardiac children need to access health equity and be recognized in their society. Cardiac disease is a number one birth defect killer globally, and so it is in our nation. Unfortunately, we do not have a national health registry for this disease, and we are advocating that it be implemented in our nation, because this disease is 60 times more prevalent than the childhood cancer. But you find that cancer has all the resources and fundings that are needed for it. Yet a heart disease that is more prevalent has no resources attributed to it. So if you are listening to this audio and you feel you want to partner in any way, whether it is through donation of medications, through partnering, sponsoring surgeries, through helping to equip our cardiac unit, because we have established a cardiac unit at Mpilo Hospital. It's the first in the southern region, but it requires the right cardiac equipment like the monitors, the defibrillators, the x-rays, and even the echo machines for them to be at the pediatric unit. The one that is currently there at the hospital is overwhelmed, as it only caters for 5 children weekly, and it also caters for the adults. It is at the adult section, and we are hoping to have one that is on standby specifically for children. We are also hoping to have a lot of awareness both in rural and urban settings, as there is a lot of stigma towards this disease. Not many people know about it. There is no health literature in both hospitals and clinics regarding regarding heart disease. So it's difficult for people to actually identify the signs and symptoms to the disease in relation to their children. So we would like a lot of health awareness material to be available in both in public spaces and in hospitals and clinics. So for those who would like to give a chance to children living with heart disease in Zimbabwe, please do not hesitate to contact us and to partner in any way. Whatever effort, be it in cash or in kind, it can go a long way to helping these children.
So there is yet another challenging story. A young woman who is advocating for healthcare services for children with health defects in Zimbabwe. If you are inspired to connect with her, please inbox me on Facebook, and let's see if we can help shine a light on the issues that can be solved sometimes with outside help. Zimbabwe is very, very challenging in terms of healthcare. So now my next speaker is coming to us from the United States. This woman is a mother of a teenage girl who wants to be an influencer. And Justine had to find a way to support her daughter, help her keep a positive self-image, because a lot of times young girls are getting lured into Instagram and trying to lose weight so they can look perfect. So she is a fascinating mom who ended up developing an app for her daughter as well. So Justine, thank you for contributing to our movement with your story. Really looking forward to hearing what you have to share.
My name is Justine Sinclair, founder and CEO and Dreamaway and Dreamaway TV show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. Today, we are graced with the presence of yet another fascinating lady coming to us all the way from the United States. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Hi, my name is Justine Sinclair, founder and CEO and Dreamaway TV show. And my base on Palm Beach, Florida in USA. And I'm 59 years old, single mom. And I create Dreamaway app to helping my daughter. My daughter is teenager girl who is hooked on social media. She doesn't know what is the dream. She get confused. My daughter dream used to be a writer, and she was working on her book to publish. And one day she changed her mind. She decided she want to be an influencer or a YouTuber. When I offer, why don't you have a dream between both? You can be a writer and you can be a YouTuber influencer. And according to her, you don't have to do it because they're gonna work for me. Young generation, I realized their dream is just today, not tomorrow. So I want to encourage my daughter. But I realized my daughter is really into social media. And all younger generation, they just using social media and texting to communicate each other. And it's like when you go to Thanksgiving or family dinner or company meeting, how many people not to look at their phone? Always something going on, right? Well, you know what? I know social media is going to really negative message and bullying all the time. Maybe I can create more positive social media to communicate better with my children and my friend, and better give the message. And also, I want to encourage my daughter dream. She can be whatever she wants. She can be an influencer and YouTuber, but she can be anything she wants to use my platform in social media platform. But when I use the social media platform to communicate each other, I want to encourage more, Sometimes my daughter says, "Oh, that's so boring. Can you do something exciting?" So I said, "How about TV shows?" So, okay, am I gonna be there?
Oh man!
A lot of children, they want to be rich and famous so badly. That's one of the things they love: selfie.
Yeah.
And also, I don't mind for social media. They get hooked on, and if they understand what is the social media message, if they know how to respect another people instead of bullying and negative message. And it's hard to do that right now, is platform. So that's why Dreamaway is so special, because create as a single working mom, and mother knows children more than anything.
Yeah.
So
that is so true. So tell me, were you in the tech industry to decide to come up with an app? How did that come to being?
It's very challenging. In the beginning, I have to learn every single things. I'm still consistent. I'm reading nonstop. I'm never afraid. Learn more. And according to my daughter, Mom, to you too old. Stop reading. Go to gym and work out and do something. I'm like, honey, that is so boring. I will only challenge. I don't care. I'm in 59 years old or 60, 70. I want to challenge with you. I talk to my daughter. I say, like, sure, mommy. But I don't afraid any age. Age is just number, People say that. I believe it. And I just want to help my younger generation to more positive message. And I want to help a lot of children not to bully each other, learn how to respect each other, That's why this Dream is so special. It's positive app. The app makes dream come true.
So how does the app actually work? Give us a step-by-step how it works.
Okay. Go to App Store. It's available iOS and Android. Download the app. You create an account and share your dream on the video and share with your social media friend. And, instead of follower, we have a star, heart. They give you, oh, I love that. I love that. I give them a lot of heart.
Right.
And every weekly basis, right now we are pretty monthly basis. When you get busy weekly basis, we are finding one of the popular talented dreamer, putting the voting system.
Okay.
So people voting, who's the most popular favorite dream,
Yes.
And that talented person we invite in our TV show.
Okay.
And what mentor and dream maker make their dream come true.
Oh, I love that. That is just absolutely amazing.
But even if you're not winner, it's okay because we have so many dream mentor and influencer to help you dream, to achieve your dream for right in spot, Some people have a lot of dream. We can give you what is the right dream for you. And they don't know which agency they have to go. They can give you right things. Okay, the agency, they charge me $5,000. Stay true. Yeah, we will give you right audition. Dream should be free. Dream doesn't have a cost. That's why it's so special.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
That is absolutely beautiful. So if you were to go back to the younger you before you created this app and it was just an idea, let's say there's another woman who's listening to you speaking today and they're doubtful, they're scared that they can do it. What 3 pieces of advice can you give somebody else who's creative, who wants to create an app?
App is very challenging. One of the basic things you have to not research. People you go somebody, hey, can you create my app? It's not everybody create app. There's a different level of people who can create. You have to search what you're looking for. You want simple app, you want really complicated app, you want to be something, unique.
Yes.
And whatever you pay, that's what you're getting actually.
And
you have to research a lot of people you knocking door for agency.
Right.
And the thing is, you have to learn together. And don't let agency, hey, you take care, that is not working. You have to learn together and make sure your app, you can control yourself. And
that's excellent. That's very good advice.
And you have to spend a lot of time for app. Some app game is so easy, but social media, you have to watch who can hack you, who can give you negative, who can hurt people for negative message. And I want to make sure everybody is happy. Some people post videos so unacceptable. They think it's a kind of a fun and joke.
Right.
You have to control that kind of people too.
Yes.
So it's depending on what kind of app, retail app, game app, but social media is definitely a challenge.
It is challenging, right?
Retail
Wow.
is much easier because you go have e-commerce, so you have a control. But don't let them control your app. Make sure you learn together. You control
Yes.
together.
Fantastic. Now, where do you see the future of this app going? What is in the horizon for you?
Future soon. Right now, people still a lot of people download the app for sure. You know, over 15,000 people already download.
Okay.
They are hesitating because they're waiting for TV show is coming. But our pilot is done. Almost editing is almost done. Finishing. Hopefully next week it's gonna be air, and people really get into their dream. You know, do not hesitate in your dream. A lot of people postpone their dream, and maybe in the future, not now. Or you know, you get a job and you go to school for dream, you get a job, something you don't want, but you got married, you have a children, you're stuck with bill. Who cares my dream? Maybe in the future, forget it. You don't have to. If you can spend the time in social media, 20 to 40 minutes, you can spend 10, 15 minutes for your dream in this social media platform. Your dream can be possible. And also it's fun to be connect with people who can have a same dream. That's why my OA app has all different category, music, art, technology, all different kinds. On each social things, you can talk about same people who can communicate each other. So in the future, I believe a lot of people, I can support everybody's dream can be there come true. I'm working on it. And that's why I need a lot of mentor and influencer who working for change this world a better place. It's a funny thing is when I was young, beauty pageant, all the beauty pageant women say, world peace is my dream. And I always make a laugh about it. Yeah, of course, world peace, yeah. But right now, do you remember all the women, world peace, world peace? But right now, when you look at the world, this world is getting out of control. It's make me so sad,
Yeah.
I wish I can be one of the person, as a woman who can change the world better place and helping a lot of women to encourage you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter you are woman or man or any gender, any age, any race. You can do anything you want. You have to just focus on it. And I want to help a lot of people for that.
That is wonderful. Wow. Thank you so much for coming online today and sharing this amazing app. I will put the link to your website with this video. And if anybody else there has got a young child, teenager, 20, 21, 31, 81, it doesn't matter. You should always hold on to your dreams. And now you've got a way to connect with people who can help you do that. So Justine, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you
proud
so
of what you have done.
Thank you. Thank you for invitation and happy Mother's Day.
And there we have it, a dream app. What dream do you have? What have you been holding on to and not putting out there? So go onto Justine's app on Apple Store, find it, upload your dream, and who knows, you might end up on her TV show. So I decided that I wanted to share with you a few video testimonials today of people who have come to our live events. Now, the world is starting to open up again, thank goodness. And we are soon to be having events live in different places in the world. So the next lot of videos are from women who participated in the past in our live events. I would love to share a few of those testimonials. So you can think about coming to one of the Herstory conferences as well.
Williams, and I live in my car, but I used to live on the Gold Coast, and living in my car now allows me to be free and do whatever I want, whenever I want. And the reason I'm here today, and I wanted to speak, is because I want to be a catalyst for change for other women over 60. I just turned 65, and it wasn't until I was 60 that I realised that 2/3 of my life had gone by, and I'd been too afraid to live. And I'm now got one from like 60 to 90, not the easiest of years, but to not make something of my life, but to feel like I've come here and I've done what I'm meant to do. And there are a lot of women out there my age who haven't lived, but we've still got a chance. And that's what I'm here for. I'm going to live. Pardon? Oh my goodness, the whole theme of today was so about women. Doesn't matter what age we are, and the trials and the tribulations we've had, but how resilient and strong and passionate we are to create change. So I'm just wanting to create that change for women over 60 because I know what it's like to be born in the 50s. But I hear the same theme going down through every generation. And the wisdom of women is just amazing, and we've got different cultures here. So the wisdom of say, African culture is totally different than anything that I was brought up with. But the contrast and the comparison and the similarity and the lessons that we can learn from each other are just incredible. And it was a wonderful feeling of just friendship. The connections. Women want to love men. How they're supposed to be loved. And men have always wanted to love us, how we want to be loved. But we've got a lot of issues. A lot of things have gone wrong in lots of cultures, in lots of age groups. And it's time we heal them and bring ourselves together to heal. And that's really what this day was about. It was a huge healing day. For me in particular, but I think probably for the whole room. Yeah.
Is Patience Ogunwuna. I'm here at the Herstory Women Empowerment Conference. This is my second one, and I can say that sometimes in life, what you're looking for comes finding you. Because the first time I went to Las Vegas, I'd never seen something like this before. I took a leap of faith, and it has made such a difference to be here in the UK, home soil, because I live in Ashford in Kent. So what is her story to me, or to the many women I have met? It is giving a voice to be able to tell your story in an authentic way, to allow you to continue to unpeel the mask that is holding you back from showing up as your true self. That way, the more you share your story, the more you become who you are meant to become. And today, when I thought that I was coming here to share my story, the gift that I got was getting the story from other people that has made such a difference to the way I'm going to show up in 2020. The amount of gratitude that I have for being here today makes me think I need to get more women to come and experience what it's like to be part of the Herstory conference, to be part of the Herstory journey, because the truth is, your story matters. Your story will make a difference to somebody. But more importantly, the more you share it, the more your story enhances your life to become the person, to give you purpose, to become the true person that you ought to be. So I'm very grateful, and I hope to see many people in the next Herstory conference. Thank you.
This is my second Herstory conference. I attended the first one in Las Vegas as a speaker, and I was delighted to turn up for this one here in Hertfordshire, as the UK is my base. Once again, it hasn't disappointed. Oh my, it's such an emotional roller coaster, as well as being educational. Seeing all these other women talking, and men, we've had men at this one, just networking with people. And what is always surprising to me is we're from such different backgrounds, different cultures, but as everyone speaks, we find that we have a common thread. We are all the same. But it is such an experience, and if you are a speaker or you just want to experience other people's lives, there is no better place to do it than here.
My name is Isabel Stankiewicz, and it's been a wonderful journey. I guess I arrived here because of a phone call from a woman that I adore and respect, who has a really important message to share. And I got to witness her sharing that story today, and I'm very, very thankful to have witnessed that, as well as the other stories of all the other speakers. It's very inspiring, and I encourage you to come and get involved for the conference in your corner of the world and to understand your story within the stories that you are witnessing. It's very powerful. And I think I've been invited to share my story tomorrow, so we'll see what happens.
My name is Myrna Whitland. I've been a friend of Gertrude now for a few years, and if there's one thing that I can really, really testify with Gertrude is that she comes up with some very, very interesting creative concepts. So today was by no means an exception. It was just taking everything to another level. Herstory conference, I've been following all the conferences that she's been creating globally. And I'm just absolutely thrilled with what you're doing, Gertrude, because what you're doing is you're bringing women together with untold stories. Women that have held onto stories as if they've been babies in the womb for a very, very long time. And in this room, you've had a whole lot of babies that have been released, stories that have been untold, and people have really been able to do it in a very, very safe environment. Thank you for creating this space that you've created. Thank you for making it so much fun. My African legs really enjoyed all the dancing today. Thank you, Gertrude.
Wow. It humbles me to listen to all of these amazing women who have come and participated in the Herstory movement. We launched, as you know, in Las Vegas. We had the second event in Wellington. The third event was in Sydney. Then we went to Norway, London, New York, Brisbane, Hamilton. And Auckland. And what really excites me is that all of these women have been impacted, not just to learn to use their voices, but to also share what this movement is about. We are all about empowering women to use their voices for good. So when you come onto our platform, you get mentoring, you get coaching, you get support from women like you who feel that they have something to say. The world is in a bit of a mess at the moment. We need an injection of feminine energy to balance out the imbalances that are visible in our world. So I encourage you to step forward, come and register to speak. We are looking for more women for International Women's Month. As you know, the month of March is a celebration of all things feminine. So register to speak. Come onto our platform. We would love to have you be one of our speakers. It looks like I was muted and speaking to myself. I want to invite as many women as possible to come onto the Herstory platform. It humbles me when I listen to the testimonials of people who came to our physical events, sharing their experience, connecting with other women from all over the world. We launched Herstory Circle in 2017 in Las Vegas. We had a conference in Wellington. We had one in Sydney. We then went on to Norway, London, New York, Brisbane, Melbourne, Auckland, Hamilton. So 10 in-person events before COVID and many, many, many more events in between online. So if you are a woman with a story to share, please register to speak. Come onto our platform. We are looking for more women with inspiring stories. Use your voice for good. The world needs an injection of feminine energy. This is your time. This is the time for you to share your story. So without further ado, I am going to go on to my next speaker. The next speaker is coming to us from the United States. An amazing woman who went through a health challenge, decided to use everything she had gone through to help and support other women, especially the older women who are having difficulties with mobility and movement. So Janice, thank you so much for this interview. I look forward to sharing your nuggets of wisdom today.
I'm Janice Jensen, and I live in Castell, Texas.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Butcher here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand, and I'm graced with the presence of yet another amazing, creative, phenomenal woman coming to us all the way from the US. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe.
Thank you.
Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Gertrude, for having me. I'm Janice Jensen, and I live in Castell, Texas. Castell, Texas is a town of 7 people, and I live 5 miles south of there on a ranch. So I'm very remote, but I'm close to San Antonio, Texas, and Austin, Texas. They're both about 2 hours away. And I'm very blessed to live out here. I am 61.8 years old and very proud of that. I don't really say old, I say young. And my mission is to get people moving, and it seems as though once we reach our 50s and 60s, 70s and 80s, a lot more people become stagnant. I've been blessed to be an athlete because when my life was growing up, it was very dysfunctional is a good way to put it. And instead of going into drugs and things in the 60s and 70s, I focused on athletics, and I got into roller skating. I actually got 4th in the nation in roller skating in 1975. Which then I just really learned dedication and commitment. And then that takes me way to the future of after I raised my 2 daughters, I went over to Abu Dhabi and I started to teach over there. I'm technically a retired school teacher. In Abu Dhabi, they had roller derby. And I thought, oh, I can't do roller derby. That's like, that's not artistic skating and jumps and spins and stuff. I was like scoffed at it. And after a while, I was getting bored in Abu Dhabi. I'm like, okay, I'll go do roller derby. And it was kind of fun. There's a lot of strategy to it and everything. And anyway, one particular day I fell on my bum so bad. Like I couldn't get up. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything for 2 weeks. And it was really hard because I've been athletic all my life. And this was in my 50s. And when I turned 50, I was doing side push-ups, doing Julia Michaels workout and everything. And I was quite devastated by that. And when they did all the tests and everything, my left leg had nerve damage and wasn't going to work. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work for me. And so through a lot of therapy, my leg does work. It's more flexible than the other leg because the nerves aren't really there. So it's kind of fun that my leg can go way up here. But then I learned that if I do not keep moving, then I atrophy. And so many of us, as we age, we start to have less movement. And the more you move, you can keep your cells rejuvenated. You can keep going through the process of just the way you think and move and how you're feeding your brain and your body. And so from that, I got into meditation over in Abu Dhabi. I'm a certified meditation instructor. From that, I learned more about yoga. I'm now 500 hours experienced yoga teacher. I used to go over to Rishikesh, India. I work with ladies over there that are artisans that make cool things kind of like yours and sell them to help the ladies over there. And we also help feed the people in Rishikesh right now. And then I got into Kundalini yoga, which was really quite interesting, which took me into more breathing and meditative things and things with a lot of the anatomy, the Eastern science of anatomy that is so different than the Western science. And we blend those two together. And then I really wanted to help people move, but they were like, oh, I can't do yoga. And I was too advanced for them. And so over the last few years, I've learned how to put just the movement therapy back from the traumatic accident and painting. Painting is so therapeutic. And these people paint. Like I guide the people through some basic movement. Normally with your eyes are closed and we move. And then they paint what they're feeling inside. And then they move and then they paint. And the best is a lady that was 80 years old. I was over in Vegas in February. She's on oxygen and she's doing this chair yoga basically and painting. And she said her testimony was she loved her life again because she started to move. And I was like, so I go to nursing homes and I just go wherever I can. And now I've made a course where other people can get certified to become a movement therapy with painting teacher and just make it's just so simplistic. And then I go on to, I'm also a life coach because it's an inward journey. All of the things are inside of us, all of our trauma from 0 to 6, all that stuff. And so it's a really, really nice, unobtrusive way to begin your inward journey if they so decide, or they can just have a beautiful painting and do a little moving.
What an incredible story. Wow. And it sounds to me like you have found your vocation, your reason for being on this planet. You started off with movement and you're ending the later part of your life with movement. And for a lot of women, you're right, after a certain age, we become very, very still. You know, I started doing ballroom dancing. My second husband bought me an electric bike. So I'm now a biker and stuff I would never have ever done before. And it's really helping in terms of my congestive heart failure and all the other health issues I've had. I've lost tons of weight. So if you were to go back to the younger you, that young woman who was going around the world doing what you do, based on everything that life has taught you, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give her on how you have lived your life up to this point?
What 3 nuggets of wisdom would I give her to maybe do it differently?
Whatever information you would have wanted somebody to have told you about life. What are the things you've learned the most?
The thing that stuck with me since I was young is my mother said, I never did anything. And so I was raised with, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
To me, she never planned to ever work. And my dad left my mom when I was basically born. And she was like, wrote her cousin a letter. What is work? How do I work? This was in 1960. And she became intern for President Carter years later. She figured out work. So my biggest nugget that I've learned is I never did anything. And that always resonates with me. And then I also work with Les Brown. I'm learning how to be a public speaker. And he said, who was a person that influenced me when I was young? And besides my mother, my grandfather. And then what 5 main points? My grandfather ran a bank in San Antonio. They did loans on a handshake. And that's what made me realize I am a very literal person. I take people for their word. Whatever you tell me is what is going to happen. And unfortunately, many, many people don't follow that these days. And I continue to get hurt over time. But integrity and values to always keep those, have those. That would be the second nugget. And the third nugget is don't drink so much alcohol and quit drinking. I believe I drank too much throughout my life. I don't drink anymore. I think a lot of people don't realize when they do things to their beautiful brain, that awesome computer that we have to relax, they could really do it so many other ways that don't affect that massive miracle computer.
Yeah. Wow. Well, those are some good nuggets right there. That's just amazing. And now you have this new program. You want to take it global. Tell us, how can people get involved? What does the program entail? Give us more information about what you've set up right now.
What I've set up is just a course on Teachable. That's the education platform that I choose to use. And I also do coaching and other things on Teachable. But what I would like to do for people, especially the people that are coaches, is to take the movement therapy with painting course. And what is in there is I teach the inner workings of how to guide the people to go within, what type of movements we do, what brings things out, how you say the different words when you're working with them through the therapy to draw out those true, textures and colors, making sure they just don't sit down and paint a picture of a flower or something. It's got to be, so the course is designed for people that want to teach this and use it in their tools to help their people go within. And it can be found on JaniceJensen.com. And I have not conquered the internet as far as like how to mass get things out.
Okay.
I am on Instagram and all that other stuff. You could contact me there.
Well, I'll definitely put all of your contact details. I would love to see this coming to this part of the world. It's inspiring because, right now, a lot of people are looking for tools on how to work with family members, the world being where it is right now. We're having to cope wherever we are. And I'm really glad that it's an online course and people can get access to you as well.
Yes. The pandemic, the COVID really helped me. In 2019, I went over to Rishikesh again to learn the Kundalini yoga. And that was October. Well, I was there from August to pretty much all of 2019, the rest of it. And I taught. And anyway, when COVID happened by February, I was going into Austin and we had big events and big things going on with the painting. And then everything stopped. And then our small group started to just practice, early morning practice online. And it got me familiar with Zoom, and it got me familiar with being online because no one was coming out to the ranch anymore to work with me because of COVID. So I have been able to go virtual, and through you, God willing, the word will get out to go even further. Through other connections that I've made, I was asked to do different fundraisers. One was also in February on a yoga studio in Africa. And the people, all they had to do was just go get paints and they could paint on a piece of paper. So it's not complicated at all. The people that are on the other end of the Zoom, you just have to be ready with a piece of paper and some Dollar General paints. And it's very simplistic.
Oh, that is awesome. That is very, very inspiring. So if we were to say that time is an illusion, your past, your present, your future exist in the same timeline. So I've just taken you to the past. Let's now take you into the future. The 100-year-old you sitting in your rocking chair there in Texas, maybe watching over your little grandchildren or great-grandchildren or your dogs or your cats or your horses, whatever it is. And you could have a conversation with the older you based on how you have lived your life. What would you say to her?
We did it.
I love that.
We really did help millions of people.
Oh, I love that.
We really,
that is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is all about how we can impact on others before we exit this life.
Yes. To
serve that's part of what I'm trying to do with the Herstory Circle.
Yes.
Is to wake up as many women that we can make a difference wherever we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts at home with your husband, your wife, your children, your immediate family. Then it's the people in your neighborhood. You know if your next door neighbor is okay, or the guy down the street. And then, like you, if you can do something somewhere else in the world where you have a passion, let's make a difference, and let's build these bridges between women in the developed world and women in the developing countries so we can help pull our sisters up. I really love what you're doing with the craft. You know, some of my jewelry pieces, one necklace can feed a family of 5 for a month, just one piece.
Yes, I don't think you said I got this one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's from Africa, and I bought it from some ladies like at the World Methodist Conference in Houston in 2016.
I love that.
Wonderful ladies.
Yeah. And that's where we start having impact.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we start really having a difference in life. So I have to thank you for this interview. I thank you for hearing my call for women's stories. You are on an interesting path and a very well-needed path right now. And I want to be part of your journey. I hope you will be part of ours. We're going to invite you to speak at our events. And we are taking this whole thing global. So to anybody who's watching right now, please go onto our website, theherstorycircle.com. We're still looking for speakers for our May online summit, 14th to the 23rd of May. And I will give you more information about this after we've finished. But thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Be back again tomorrow when I come back with another amazing guest coming from a different part of the world. Thank you so much for today. Bye for now, everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much for that beautiful contribution. Again, always very, very exciting to hear women who have gone through all kinds of challenges and have come out on the other side fighting fit and now helping others. So now I'm going to share with you a few more short stories that have come in from all over the world, women who are pitching to be able to speak on our platform. And then we'll come back with yet another presenter.
It's Prema Joy, and I live in Adelaide, Australia, and this is my story. As a child, I really loved the church, the pomp and the ceremony, and I believed in a God that was all pervasive and forgiving. When I was 11, my dad got sick, and I prayed to God to help him, to heal him, and promised to be a really good girl. And I held myself to this impossible standard for nearly 12 months, and my dad improved. And then when I was 12, he just died suddenly anyway. This really destroyed my faith in God, and it also really affected my self-worth because I believed that I wasn't good enough, not for God, not for anyone, not even God loved me. This caused a few issues for me, and I became an alcoholic. I ran away from home. I married a man and was in domestic violence for 18 years. It took me 30 years to leave, and when I started my healing journey, I went to a seminar one day, and during a process, I fell into this amazing space, this awareness, this love, this peace, this space, and realized that I was it, that it was in everything, it was everywhere, it was the source of life itself, and I knew that I was it. And my word for this is grace, and since that time I've lived my life from grace, and my life has unfolded in ways that I never would have expected, and miracles happen every day. And that's my story. Thank you.
Susan Schatzer. I'm 50 years old and I live in Orlando, Florida. And this is my story.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Meyer. I'm 70 years old. I live in Arcadia, California, which is in the Los Angeles area of the United States. And this is my story.
Hello everyone, my name is Rosa Alejandra. I am 43 years old. I live in Fresno, California, and this is my story.
Hi, I'm Heike Yates. I am 57 years old. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I'm originally from Germany. And here's my story.
Hello, I'm Cindy Gerard. I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I'm 52 years old, and I want to share with you my story.
Greetings, Herstory. My name is LaShanna Moore. I'm 43 years old, and I bring you greetings from Houston, Texas. This is my story.
Hello, my name is Frida Cabo. I'm 38 years old. I'm originally from Sweden and live in Raglan, New Zealand. This is my story.
They are gathering in women's circles all over the world, from New Zealand to Australia, Norway, United Kingdom, and the United States to share their stories. The Women's Global Empowerment Conference is a dynamic platform for women to connect, dance, inspire, teach, collaborate, uplift, and empower. Changing lives one story at a time, one woman at a time. Join this amazing social revolution and register to speak right here and have your voice be heard. Don't go to your grave with your story.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Eve, and I'm thrilled to be making this introductory video for Herstory conference. And as I have been reflecting over the last day or so about my story, which is her story, I've been receiving intuitively the theme living on the edge. And as I look at my life experience, I see that that's actually been the experience and the magic, the grace of life to be empowered and living on the edge now. So if I look back, I can see from the age of 2, life brought me that. It brought me that.
My name is Kath Vincent. I'm 50 years old and I live in Auckland, New Zealand. This is my story. I spent most of my life doing the right thing, the appropriate thing. I was good in school, I got 2 degrees, and then I had a career as a business consultant. Even though I had everything I could possibly want, I still felt restless. I guess I hadn't yet done what I really wanted to do with my life. What I really wanted was to create a venue, a motivational hub, which would be a place of belonging for the brilliance in every person. 7 years after committing to that long-term dream, I found the perfect 1950s warehouse, but there were 2 hurdles to overcome. The first was that we had to go to auction and win it, and when the hammer went down and we had won that building, it was the most exciting moment of my entire life. But then the second hurdle, the warehouse was actually a methamphetamine lab and it had to be completely gutted. It took 7 long months to decontaminate it, and once it was clean and back to bare concrete, I moved into a building site with the 3 most important people in my life. My husband, my teenage stepdaughter, and my dog. It was incredibly difficult. We had no insulation, no walls, no carpet, no electrics, no kitchen, hardly any bathroom. We were under enormous financial pressure, physical pressure, and emotional pressure. But the result is that we now live and work in a beautiful space. We help other people fulfill their dreams. And now, more than ever, I believe that anything you can dream up and commit to can be possible.
Of living on the edge of the shadows. Hi, I'm Cassandra Eve, and I'm thrilled to be making this introductory video for Herstory conference. And as I have been reflecting over the last day or so about my story, which is her story, I've been receiving intuitively the theme living on the edge. And as I look at my life experience, I see that that's actually been the experience and the magic, the grace of life to be empowered in living on the edge now. So if I look back, I can see from the age of 2, life brought me that. It brought me that quality of living on the edge of the shadows of human experience. And that happened through sexual abuse, that happened through rejection from my family, or what appeared to be rejection from my family. That also happened through marriage to a violent and alcoholic man. Until I got to the mid to late 30s, then something happened. I woke up, and then I began to live on the edge consciously. What brought that wake up? Well, I would say it's the grace of my soul that brought that to me. And now I can see this flip that's taken place to living on the edge that brings me real aliveness, and that's the potential for all of us. What's your edge? I know what mine is, and it's continually changing, growing and evolving. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and I would love to be involved in the conference series.
Kia ora. My name is Kitty Fitton. I'm 45 years old and I live in the city of Wellington, New Zealand. My story is about overcoming adversity. You see, let me ask you a question. If I ask you what you think of when I say the words Parkinson's disease, what are you going to think of? You're probably going to think about shaking, old people. You're not going to think of many positive things. You might have Michael J. Fox in there, but you're not generally going to think of this. You see, 3.5 years ago, I developed a limp. That limp got worse. Before I knew it, I had my very own diagnosis of early onset Parkinson's disease. However, I'm a woman from the north of England. I don't like to take the word no for an answer. So, for example, when I was a child, I was told that computers are for boys. Naturally, I learned how to code. When I got Parkinson's, I was told I should keep it quiet because, you know, it'll affect my job prospects. So I set up my own business and began public speaking about living with Parkinson's. I've also set up a scout troop in my local area with wings, and I believe in community, doing the right thing and helping other people. I would love to meet you and talk some more. So my name's Kitty Fitton. It would be great to hear from you.
And I've been here at the Herstory conference in the UK, and what I can say is this has been an empowering, motivating and inspiring 2 days. The connection that I found here with all of the women, and it's just the friendships that have been built, and all the stories that have come from each and every woman. The one common thread that I believe that each woman has taken away is that they're not alone. And there are so many people, women out there in the world who feel alone, who feel that they can't achieve, they can't do, they can't aspire. But this conference is one that really gets to the heart of the people that are in it. And it just shows you so much that you can achieve anything, you can be anything, and the most important thing is that you are not alone. So I thank Gertrude for putting on this conference, and I will be at the next one. It's absolutely amazing, and if you didn't come, you need to come to the next one. Make it your mandate to be at the Herstory Conference 2020. The next one, I want to see you there. This is Mama Michelle.
So I came here to the Herstory conference to share my story about how I became immune to the fear of rejection. And one thing that I really enjoyed about being here is hearing everyone else's really inspiring stories of perseverance, facing a lot of very traumatic experiences, and coming out the other side, having something that turned into something positive to share with other people. And I feel like that's the best way to connect with people in a way that's meaningful and long-lasting is through sharing each other's stories. And that's really been the favorite part of the day. It's that direct reminder that people they don't know have no idea what they think of their lives, but then they eat that little bit and suddenly they feel so convicted. And I just
So those were a few video testimonials from people who have come from our previous events, small ladies signing up to speak. Very, very exciting time for the Herstory movement. Next, we're going to move on to yet another amazing mother of 4 based in the United States who created a career around looking after her family, looking after her kids. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ayana, wonderful to have you share your story with us today.
I am Ayana Murray, and I am 44. I'm a mother of 4, and I'm in Memphis, Tennessee.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Butcher here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand, and I'm graced with the presence of yet another amazing sister coming to us all the way from the United States. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Well, I am Ayana Murray, and I am 44. I'm a mother of 4, and I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, and it's sunny outside too. So we're hailing from the beautiful Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm so excited to just be here. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. And really, it's a story that I think a lot of women will be able to relate to. And as a mother, I decided that I was going to stay home with my children instead of pursuing a professional career. That was a big choice, a new choice for my family, you know, all expecting me to go on to graduate school and do other things, but decided that this was something that God wanted me to do. So I decided to raise my children at home. And then I used to think homeschool people were really crazy. I felt like that was something that God wanted me to do, and something I said I would never do. And so I not only became a stay-at-home mother, but a homeschool educator as well. And when my children were growing up, as many of us moms do, we love story time with our kids. And I really took on the mantra, the more stories, the better. It develops their language skills, their knowledge skills. And so I would go to the library and check out the maximum number of books. And it would be maybe like 40 books in a week. And I would just do regular story time with my kids. And as I began to be exposed to the authors and the beautiful stories, seeds were planted in me like, I can write stories. And I didn't know exactly what I would write about. Honestly, I tried a few times and my stories got lost or was on a paper or an old computer, you know, 4 little kids. And my kids were like, I had 4, 3 and under. So I was like in the deep end of the swimming pool when it comes to mothering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just little time, you know, just always on. And but these seeds in me were planted to become an author. And I think for a lot of mothers who end up choosing this particular route or are able to do this route, they tend to put their dreams aside and aren't fully able to commit to that. But I always knew if I stay home, I need to be connected to the dreams and passions that I have so that my kids can see it, but also so that when it's time for me to do it, I will have been connected. So I was an avid journaler. I would start writing stories. And then it just got so busy. I just really didn't think it was ever going to happen. And I ran into an author at a garage sale. Now we say garage sale. I don't know if in New Zealand you say garage sale or tag sale.
Yes, we do.
So I happened to meet this author, and she was a retired author. And she said, this is the time that the industry is really looking for diversity and women of color in particular to join. So she was like, I think you need to start writing now. And so I went back home to New York at the time, and I just started, I had been researching a particular story for a long time, and I just started just putting it on paper, real rough. But then, and so just by finishing that story, I was like, okay, well, the next step is to find an agent, because I was wanting to go the traditional route at the time. And there were 2 agents that liked the story. And so I picked one agent, and then it just started really starting to pick up for me. And, the story never actually got acquired. And eventually my agent and I, after a few years, just kind of parted ways because it just seemed like we weren't really moving in the same direction anymore. But I just had a passion to write. So I just kept writing and writing. And I said, I know I will be told what path to take, but I'm just going to keep writing. And I just got confident enough, honestly, to say, I'm going to invest in myself. And I'm going to publish myself. I don't need to wait anymore. I don't need anyone else to validate whether my stories are good, because I know there's an audience, and they are my stories to tell. I am responsible to tell my story.
Wow.
Yeah, so my first published books was with my daughters, in fact. And I have a new story that I just released about a month ago, and another book that will be released this summer. And I'm just so excited because I'm doing what I know I'm supposed to do. So women out there, do what you are supposed to do, but sometimes it's not your season quite yet, but you still gotta, till the soil, water until it's time for that fruit to grow.
I love this. Wow. So as you are developing all of these story ideas, where do the ideas come from? Where does that source of inspiration come from?
Well, oh my gosh, inspiration is everywhere. But I will say one of my secret treasure, like the stories that are in the treasure box, are stories from my family. Stories that I've heard my parents talk about, stories that I've heard my grandparents talk about. And it's the personal stories that are the best. But I get inspiration from so many things. And I actually have a notebook that I carry along, and it's like book ideas. And there's this organization on Facebook called Story Storm. And every February, they have the challenge of coming up with a new book idea every day of the month.
Oh, wow.
And so they always use prompts, things to kind of help spur your imagination. And I do that every year. And I have a book of about 200 book ideas. So
my gosh. That is amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
So you sometimes have to put yourself in a position where you're working with other creatives as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, see, that would be awesome, but I'm at home with my 4 kids.
Right.
So I'm not really out and about that much, but it doesn't really matter because, like I said, stories are everywhere.
They're everywhere.
If you, it's kind of like when you purchase a new car and then you see that everybody has that new car all of a sudden.
You start seeing it everywhere.
That's how it is with, if you have your story antennas up, I'm always writing like, oh, that'll be a good story.
All right. So let me ask you this. If you were to talk to someone who is sitting on the edge, they think they have an idea, they're not sure, based on what life has taught you to get to this point, and you could go back and talk to that younger you, that young woman who started off on this journey, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you share with her?
Start writing now. So you might not think that you're going to be able to get it out into the world, and that's okay. You need to start writing now. Because I have so many stories I wrote 6 years ago. They're going to come out, but it's just a matter of time. So start writing now. Start developing that skill. So like you said, get around, if there are writing groups. I have a critique group that critiques if my stories are good. So I get feedback from my story. They're like, maybe you should write it from the third perspective or the first person perspective. So you do need to get around people who are doing what you want to do so that you can develop your craft. And then also just read. And the stories you really love, like take notes. So I have another book that I collect words and phrases, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I just want to collect it and just put it in there and capture it. And sometimes what I could do is flip through and I'll be like, oh, I want to use this word in what I'm trying to do in my story. So, the inspiration is everywhere, but start now. You never know what's going to happen, and record it. So.
Oh, that's absolutely lovely. And if you were to now go into your future, the kids have grown up, the 100-year-old you is sitting in a rocking chair reflecting back on your life, based on how you've lived your life, what would you say to that woman?
So I'm speaking to the future me?
It's speaking to the future you, yes.
I would just, let's see, wow, okay. I would just want to be proud that I didn't leave anything on the table. I always tell my kids, don't let fear paralyze you from doing what you know you need to do. So I'm thinking if I keep living that philosophy, I will be looking proudly at that 100-year-old, me, saying she did what she was assigned to do.
Yeah.
And she loved the people tremendously that were put in her path, and she gave her all. She laid it on the floor. And, so I think I would be proud if I continue to live out my values that I have now.
That is so inspiring. There's a lot of young moms at the moment as well who are staying at home, kids are at home, having to juggle and find ways, one, to make an income, one, to look after their kids. How are you coping with COVID?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's a tough time, and it's a tough time to be at home. And I'm used to being at home, but I'm not used to being at home like this, for people that are living in places that are a little bit more strict. My friends are my lifeline. So I just make sure that I'm connecting. And for people that are able to get out, it's important to get out, even if it's just to take a walk. But now people are able to connect with their family and friends, more. And so I would say, yes, do it. I mean, I think we're all feeling a little dry when it comes to connecting. And it is important for our survival, because as mothers, we give and give and give. And if we're shriveling up, boy, we're not good. It's going to impact the entire household.
There's nothing much left to give.
Nothing much to give. You're right. So we have to reboot. We have to, really be in tune with our emotional selves, our internal thinking. And, I started adding on meditation. Got my prayer journal. Like, really, what are the things that water your soul and connect to that?
Yeah, you're so right. So where can people get your books? Are they available on Amazon, your website?
Yes, right now you can type in Ayana Murray and in Amazon, and my books will come up. You can go to ayanamurray.com, and there's a way to purchase the books there. And currently I'm writing for children, but I do have, just like you, I want to write film and do screenplays. So I am just wanting to learn what you've already done, but I'm excited about the power of the pen, and that's what I named my company, is that it just has the power. If you can just write, you can write articles, like you're doing magazines, you can do film, TV. So if us women really see our own power, we can really influence the world.
Yeah. And I think the beautiful thing about the way you're living your life is the ripple effect it's going to have on your kids.
It's great that you said that, because my daughter Anaya, we co-wrote the book, Bear Learns to Share, and my eldest daughter did all the illustrations.
Oh, wow.
Well, since then, my daughter and I, she has written a play, a musical that has won some awards, and she is launching her own book line, and she'll have her first solo project out this summer. So you are so right.
Wow. That is just so beautiful to hear. Well, congratulations. You are a good role model.
Thank you.
Definitely impacted on your children. They've seen the gifts that they have passed on from yours truly. That is fantastic.
As mothers, we're just trying to cultivate, right? I feel like God sent us these children. They come with all the gifts, that they have, and we're just discovering them as mothers and just pushing them toward their way. So thank you.
Thank you so much for this amazing interview. I'm really excited to have you as part of our community. I look forward to having you maybe come and run a workshop, a creative workshop with our community as well. Empower other young moms to do what you've done.
Yeah.
And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today.
Another amazing, amazing woman coming to us from the United States. It's amazing what happens when, as women, we are forced to be creative and find ways to look after our kids, to work from home. Being a writer is one of those things. We will be running online workshops for women to come online and learn how to write and make money through blogging, through writing short stories, whether it's fiction or a memoir. So if you're interested, my email is at the bottom of the screen. Go in there and just send me an email so I can give you more information about that. So we'll continue with our videos for the day. I have yet another group of amazing women who were inspired to share or come on board to share what they experienced when they came to one of our physical events. We'll share a few more testimonials before we move on to the next speaker.
We're live right now with Dr. Erica Harris.
Hi.
And we're going to ask her a few questions. So, Doctor, please tell us what brought you here today.
Oh, I was happy to accept this invitation when it was extended. I have spent a lot of time navigating adversity and trying to find the light in the dark. And I'm happy to pay forward all of the kindness and generosity and blessings that have been bestowed upon me from forces worldwide on my journey. And I'm here to pay it forward for others navigating hardship and adversity and trying to find their light through the dark.
And what was the best part of the conference?
Gosh, so many amazing bits of this whole event. Just so phenomenal to get to be here for the whole kickoff of the phenomenal mission of inspiring 1 million women worldwide over the next year. It's a phenomenal mission. But I would say just the connections that have been formed with these powerful and strong and phenomenal women from all across our great globe.
All right, and please let our viewers know what they are missing out on by not attending her conference.
Oh my gosh, come. You will be inspired, you will be empowered to rise up and to live your best life today. You can find more about me at risetoday.com.
Is that all you have to say?
It's an amazing event. Go, Herstory, go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely inspiring. Getting on stage myself and hearing other women talk about their raw truth and be as raw and vulnerable on the stage gave that energy of healing. Like when you actually think about people sharing their story, it's actually all about healing, and I felt the power of that healing in the room, so it was totally inspiring. And I definitely recommend that anyone and everyone comes, whether you're male or female, that you come to the Herstory conferences and you spread the message.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to share with you today a really personal story because I am at the Herstory conference, and for me I've been to loads of conferences, I've been to various different events, and I have to say this has been the most empowering event I've ever been to, because as a lot of us know, a lot of events are a bit of a pitch fest, a bit kind of share your stuff, and this one is different. This is actually creating a movement of women. And everyone today firstly felt safe in the most amazing safe environment where they could really share their deep truths, their deep stories, so that they can go on and empower other women to do exactly the same. The conference, Gertrude is just putting on not a conference, it's like I said, it's more of a movement, it's a creation, it's bringing women together to go out there and make a difference. If you're sitting there thinking about attending this event, just don't even think about it, just do it. Book it now and just come and join this incredible movement. Like, you won't get out of it one thing. Like, I can't even name the things I've got out of it. It's personal development, it's growth, it's connections, it's vision for a bigger future. I have ideas bubbling of, oh my God, where I really want to go, because I really want to stretch myself out of my comfort zone now. But yeah, if you're even doubting attending, just do it. Seriously, you will not regret it. Woo!
Nirmala Raja. And if any of you out there are thinking of working with Gertrude Matchie as your own personal mentor or coaching, she is incredible at what she does. And she's helped me so much when it comes to my own public speaking, being able to refine and really enhance my own personal story when it comes to, really being able to articulate what I'm trying to do, but also be able to pull in people to hear my voice. She's been exceptional at helping me write and fine-tune my first book, and has given me some valuable tools in order to become the type of person I am today when it comes to my career. So I recommend her highly. She is such an incredible person, a humanitarian, an inspiring global woman who's helped thousands of people around the world with their stories, and she's really quite moving with her ability to connect and get you to articulate what you're truly feeling. So I just love her, and I continue to work with her, and I cannot recommend her enough. You will love her.
Well, thank you to all of those amazing women who have come to our events, who I've worked with as clients. Thank you for sharing your experience with our audience today. We're going to go on now to listen to a few more speakers. These are shorter presentations from women all over the world. And what I've tried to do is to condense them into one video. So they will play one after the other, just like what I did a little bit earlier on today. So these video shorts are really great because you just get an essence of each of these women who are coming to speak at our conference.
Hello everyone, I'm Laura Free and I live in Auckland, New Zealand, and this is my story. I realised I was different to the other kids in school at a young age. I didn't like boys, they didn't make any sense to me, and I wasn't attracted to them either. I didn't realise it then, but I was actually really attracted to girls. Everything about them, the way they moved, their soft hair, so beautiful. I wasn't able to talk about it growing up. I couldn't share what I felt or what I was thinking, and I knew no one else who was like me at all. And when I was 19, my family moved to New Zealand, and I decided to go with them. I'd done some secret research prior to that, and had read that psychotherapy could cure me of my affliction, of being evil, of being condemned by the church, of being labelled as sick and queer. I started my new life in New Zealand and found up a psychotherapist who then offered me the viewpoint that maybe it was actually okay to be gay, and that I should think on it for a few days and then come back to him if I still wanted to after that. New Zealand helped me to feel that it was possible that I could actually...
Hi, my name is Susan Schatzer. I'm 50 years old and I live in Orlando, Florida. And this is my story.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Meyer. I'm 70 years old. I live in Arcadia, California, which is in the Los Angeles area of the United States. And this is my story.
Hello everyone, my name is Rosa Alejandra. I am 43 years old. I live in Fresno, California, and this is my story.
Hi, I'm Heike Yates. I am 57 years old. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I'm originally from Germany. And here's my story.
Hello, I'm Cindy Gerard. I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I'm 52 years old, and I want to share with you my story.
Greetings, Herstory. My name is LaShanna Moore. I'm 43 years old, and I bring you greetings from Houston, Texas. This is my story.
Hello, my name is Frida Cabo. I'm 38 years old. I'm originally from Sweden and live in Raglan, New Zealand. This is my story.
They are gathering in women's circles all over the world, from New Zealand to Australia, Norway, United Kingdom, and the United States to share their stories. The Women's Global Empowerment Conference is a dynamic platform for women to connect, dance, inspire, teach, collaborate, uplift, and empower. Changing lives one story at a time, one woman at a time. Join this amazing social revolution and register to speak right here and have your voice be heard. Don't go to your grave with your story.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Eve, and I'm thrilled to be making this introductory video for Herstory conference. And as I have been reflecting over the last day or so about my story, which is her story, I've been receiving intuitively the theme living on the edge. And as I look at my life experience, I see that that's actually been the experience and the magic, the grace of life to be empowered in living on the edge now. So if I look back, I can see from the age of 2, life brought me that. It brought me that quality of living on the edge of the shadows of human experience, and that happened through sexual abuse, that happened through rejection from my family, or what appeared to be rejection from my family. That also happened through marriage to a violent and alcoholic man. Until I got to the mid to late 30s, then something happened. I woke up, and then I began to live on the edge consciously. What brought that wake up? Well, I would say it's the grace of my soul that brought that to me. And now I can see this flip that's taken place to living on the edge that brings me real aliveness, and that's the potential for all of us. What's your edge? I know what mine is, and it's continually changing, growing and evolving. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and I would love to be involved in the conference series.
Hello, my name is Kath Vincent. I'm 50 years old and I live in Auckland, New Zealand. This is my story. I spent most of my life doing the right thing, the appropriate thing. I was good in school, I got 2 degrees, and then I had a career as a business consultant. Even though I had everything I could possibly want, I still felt restless. I guess I hadn't yet done what I really wanted to do with my life. What I really wanted was to create a venue, a motivational hub, which would be a place of belonging for the brilliance in every person. 7 years after committing to that long-term dream, I found the perfect 1950s warehouse, but there were 2 hurdles to overcome. The first was that we had to go to auction and win it, and when the hammer went down and we had won that building, it was the most exciting moment of my entire life. But then the second hurdle, the warehouse was actually a methamphetamine lab, and it had to be completely gutted. It took 7 long months to decontaminate it, and once it was clean and back to bare concrete, I moved into a building site with the 3 most important people in my life: my husband, my teenage stepdaughter, and my dog. It was incredibly difficult. We had no insulation, no walls, no carpet, no electrics, no kitchen, hardly any bathroom. We were under enormous financial pressure, physical pressure, and emotional pressure. But the result is that we now live and work in a beautiful space. We help other people fulfill their dreams. And now, more than ever, I believe that anything you can dream up and commit to can be possible.
Kia ora. My name is Kitty Fitton. I'm 45 years old and I live in the city of Wellington, New Zealand. My story is about overcoming adversity. You see, let me ask you a question. If I ask you what you think of when I say the words Parkinson's disease, what are you going to think of? You're probably going to think about shaking, old people. You're not going to think of many positive things. You might have Michael J. Fox in there, but you're not generally going to think of this. You see, 3.5 years ago, I developed a limp. That limp got worse. Before I knew it, I had my very own diagnosis of early onset Parkinson's disease. However, I'm a woman from the north of England. I don't like to take the word no for an answer. So, for example, when I was a child, I was told that computers are for boys. Naturally, I learned how to code. When I got Parkinson's, I was told I should keep it quiet because, you know, it'll affect my job prospects. So I set up my own business and began public speaking about living with Parkinson's. I've also set up a scout troop in my local area with wings, and I believe in community, doing the right thing and helping other people. I would love to meet you and talk some more. So my name's Kitty Fitton. It would be great to hear from you.
What's up, and welcome to Stick It. My name is Lindsay Lee Hobson and I'm an inspirational speaker and marketing professional who's starting a revolution for young adults. And today I come live to you from the Herstory conference in Wellington, New Zealand. So you can see behind me everyone's setting up, everyone's just registering at the moment. It's still very early here and I'm super excited. It has been an absolute adventure. I travelled here yesterday from Melbourne. The flight was very bumpy. If you've ever flown into Wellington before, be prepared for turbulence. bumpy landing, and we spent the day arriving here. It's a little bit out of Wellington CBD, and we went to a cocktail party where we got to meet all the other beautiful speakers, and there's guests arriving now, people who are just watching. But it is an absolute adventure, and it just really made me appreciate that you can prepare and prepare and prepare for something like this, and you need to, and you need to, write your speech and get your accommodation booked and get your flights organised and make sure you're in the right place at the right time. But when push comes to shove, there is only so much controlling and preparing you can do. At the end of the day, you got to let it go, because life is an adventure. And at some stage, hey, there's Dee and Sandy in the background, they're speaking with me, hi, and there's Gail too, who I'm sharing a room with. Everybody here is so beautiful. But at the end of the day, life is only the adventure you let it be. Sometimes you have to let go, and it doesn't matter how much you prepare and control, you just have to go with it. So today, I'm not organising this conference, so I'm here attending and speaking. I'll be speaking tomorrow morning, so I'll have more on that for you then. But today I'm just going to enjoy, absolutely enjoy the day, go with it, learn these girls' beautiful stories, and these women and these men's beautiful stories, and meet as many fantastic people as I can, and tell as many people as I can about the Stick It Revolution, because I'm on a mission to empower 1 million young adults around the world to break the mold. And I'm super excited to be here today. I'll go live a little bit later on as well and give you an update on how the day's gone and the sorts of things I've learned and the conversations I've had. But definitely jump on to share this if you can. There's still a couple of tickets left. If you know anyone who is in Wellington, New Zealand, or can get here for the 2-day conference, it's today and tomorrow, share it around. Comment on here and let me know if you're keeping up to date. I just wanted to say thank you for all the beautiful messages. I've had so many people shoot me a message saying good luck, congratulations on an amazing achievement. And it looks like we're about to start, so I'm going to go. But thank you so much, and remember to stick it. What's up, and welcome to Stick It. Hey. My name's Lindsay Lee Hobson, and I'm an inspirational speaker and marketing professional who's starting a revolution for young adults. And this is Mabel. Hey everyone. Hey. We met at the Herstory conference. She was one of the speakers as well, and it was such a good couple of days.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, so good. We met so many beautiful people, and it was just amazing to know that there are women and men, there's a few men there as well, hi Russell, that are going through similar journeys and have that passion and that drive to make a difference, And sometimes I think when you are in a place and sometimes you've been through a tragedy or a trauma or whatever it is, and you're ready to take it to that next level and actually go out there and send your message to the world, that can be incredibly lonely. And this conference, I met so many beautiful people, so I don't feel alone anymore. If I felt before, I do not feel alone, and neither are you. What did you speak on, Mabel? Remind us what you did.
What did I speak on? It's been such a long couple of 2 days.
It has. We're super tired.
I spoke about the gifts, how
and kids and
inspiration, how kids should be doing what they're good at, finding the right environment for the kids, for them to thrive.
And don't change your environment. So don't change your kid to fit in with your environment.
Just find an environment that your child fits in.
Which is so true, and I never thought about it before. If your school's saying that your kid's difficult, or maybe they said that about you when you were in school, and that you need extra support, or maybe you're not able to keep up, or whatever it is, maybe you need to look at the environment that you're
find a place
that
you will fit in.
Absolutely. Which was something that was quite close to your heart as well.
It
Because your
is
son.
definitely.
This is quite competitive. So which is fantastic. He plays a lot of tennis, which is beautiful. So there are so many people in this world. So if you haven't found your people yet and you are feeling alone, take this as a reminder today to get out there and find them. They are
They're
around.
definitely there.
They really are. They're everywhere. So if you're not sure, you can join the Stick It Facebook group. Send me a request and I'll approve it tonight. You're welcome to send me a message directly. More than happy to help you one-on-one. I just work with a select few, so let me know your circumstances and I'll see if we can work together and there's the opportunity there. But you're just not alone. You're never alone. So it's been a really wonderful couple of days. We're exhausted. We're going to go eat dinner. But thank you so much for watching and remember to stick it.
See you guys.
Hello, my name is Caroline Welkin and I'm from Upper Hutt outside of Wellington in New Zealand, and this is my story. I'm going to be 60 this year, and sometimes I feel like I've lost a whole bunch of years. Back in 2014 I was feeling particularly good. I was rebuilding my business. I was off in Auckland for a wonderful holiday, watching comedians, learning storytelling, and generally going out to play. And that morning, in a shower, over a bath, in a hotel, My toe, my soapy toe, slipped in the bath, my leg bent backwards. I hit my head. And, well, to cut a long story short, a few months later, my partner and I took me along to find out what was wrong. Why was I crying? Why was I tired? Why was I anxious? Why couldn't I even make a sandwich? Why was I shouting at my lovely husband for no apparent reason? And why had I ceased to cope with work and all those kinds of things? And I learned that I had post-concussion syndrome, or as it's now known in some countries, persistent concussion syndrome. Well, I figured that all the skills that I'd lost were going to be like going to the gym. You know, when you don't go for a while and then you start lifting the weights and your body remembers, the muscles have the memories. And I did the same principle once I learned about neuroplasticity with all the skills I'd lost, with reading, with writing, with watching TV, with watching indie movies, with subtitles, with going out, with performing, with training, with all the things that I had been doing in my life and so love and enjoy. And that path, that challenge, and that overcoming, that's the story that I would like to share with Herstory. Thank you.
Hi there, this is Sue Glasser, and I'm from Melbourne, Australia. And obviously from the accent you can hear I'm not originally from Australia, but actually from South Africa, but we've lived here for 20 years. So love living here. And I'm 54 years old, and this is my story. So I wanted to share a story around the fact that you don't have to be born with a natural ability to be organized, but rather that it is a skill. And why did I discover this? Well, I am not a naturally organized person, of course, didn't get the gene, and everything was always in chaos, and I had papers all over my desk, my office was chaotic, my home was chaotic, and I thought I was always going to be that way. And then one day I attended a workshop called Paper Flow, and it literally changed my life. I came home, all my beautiful stationery, which was lying all over the floor, gathering dust, because I had lots and lots of it, because I am a stationery addict after all, suddenly came up, went on into all the necessary places that needed to go, and I set up the system on my desk, and it's still there 8 years later. Amazing. So what I want to share, I want to make sure that people understand that it's not a talent, but rather a skill to be organized. And particularly when it comes to women who think that it should be a natural ability for them, and they think they should just know how to be organized around their home and in their life in general. So I would like to share that message. I'm a time management and organization specialist, and I do that through workshops and consults, and I would love to be able to do that and share that with the ladies at the conference. So thanks for listening, and I hope I get to share my story.
Hi, my name's Hayley Birtles-Eads, and this is my story. At the age of 13, my family migrated from the UK. We fell upon extremely hard times, to the point where at the age of 13, I had to get a job in a supermarket to be able to support my entire family. It was very, very difficult times. I ended up mopping floors, doing all the serving, whatever I could to be able to bring home the money so we could keep the roof over our heads. Now, as a mother of 3 children, a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old, I could not even imagine my son having to be the sole income earner for an entire family. Now I look back and think it wasn't really a big deal, but now it still blows my mind. So I've gone on, I didn't go to school, I finished school very early, as quickly as I possibly could. I didn't have any university education. I've worked many, many jobs. I went into the University of Life and got a great education there. I went on to create multiple brands and businesses over my life career, 2 of which I am now the CEO of, and 1 of which I am the director of, and I'm here to tell you that it is possible to go through life without all the traditional learnings and teachings and still thrive and make an absolute success out of yourself. I would absolutely love to share my story with you and tell you some of the secrets of my success. And let me tell you, I still mop the floors, I still do all of those things because I believe that was a really great foundation for me. You can never underestimate the power of genuine, good, quality, hard work. I'd love to share my story with you guys, if you'd have me.
All right. Lots and lots of people who are auditioning to participate in the upcoming summit. So every single day we are having 10 speakers from different parts of the world. Go onto our website, theherstorycircle.com, and register to speak. We are still looking for speakers. Which brings me to our next presenter. This young woman is coming to us all the way from the US. Jessica Day, thank you for gracing us with your presence. We look forward to hearing your amazing story with us today.
So my name is Jessica Lynn Day. I am based in New Jersey in the United States.
Hello, everybody. This is Gertrude Matcha here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. Welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating lady today. Please welcome. Tell us your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Absolutely. So my name is Jessica Lynn Day. I am based in New Jersey in the United States, and I will be 34 in a couple of weeks, so it's almost my birthday.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. And I am a certified professional life and leadership coach, and I launched my business this past year, right at the height of a pandemic.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so it's been wild, but fun and exciting every moment of it. And I'm here today with you, as you said, to share my story. And my story, I think, like many women, started when I was a little girl. When I was very young, I was always very intimidated by other people. I was very shy. I had a lot of anxiety all the time. And over the years of my life, I created this kind of people-pleasing sense about me where I really started to live for the pleasure of other people, wanting to make other people happy, wanting to make sure that I wasn't ever starting a confrontation. I wasn't ever making someone uncomfortable. I wasn't ever expressing an opinion or a judgment or a thought that someone could potentially disagree with.
Yes.
And that really led me onto this journey of starting a career in marketing and public relations where I felt really lost and always intimidated by the people around me, always feeling like I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough. I felt like I couldn't get to that next level because I just felt so misaligned with everyone around me. And I realized it was because I was not being myself. I was not expressing myself. I was not sharing what I actually thought about anything because I was so afraid of people not liking me. I wanted people to like me so badly. And, I'm a very genuine, kind person. That's one of my strengths. I really genuinely love people.
Yes.
And I think that as a strength, it also hindered me because I was so focused on being kind and genuine. And I was so focused on other people. And it got to a point where I was really depressed. And I was working in jobs that I didn't like. I was working late hours. I wasn't making any money. I was really stressed all the time. I felt stuck. I felt worthless. I felt like I'm never going to get out of here. Like, this is my life. Like, every day is the same. I'm never going to have an exciting life. I'm never going to be able to travel or buy a house or find a husband because who's going to want to be with me? I'm just like this loser who's stuck in this life.
Oh.
And yeah, it was a very low time. But I discovered self-development. I discovered therapy. I discovered coaching. And I never knew what coaching was before, but I happened to just find people who were coaches along my path. And I built up the courage to ask them, hey, what is this coaching thing that you're doing? And I took a leap and decided to enroll myself in a program. And through that coaching program, not only did I learn to become an amazing coach, but I also learned so much about myself. And I learned that I had created stories, I had created assumptions, I had created all of this nonsense that was not true at all, and that I was capable of creating new thoughts and new ideas about who I wanted to be and who I actually was. And it's amazing what has happened to me, because I went from someone who kind of hated herself and felt like I didn't deserve anything to now living literally my dream. Like, I live at the beach. I married a wonderful husband. We have a new puppy. I have my own business. I'm in charge of my schedule. And I'm authentically expressing myself, even when I know that someone might disagree with me. And I'm okay with that. And it's been amazing.
So, okay, let's just unravel and go right back to the beginning. You know, as women, we sometimes don't even see our own value. We have those little crazy voices in our heads telling us we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not worthy. How does one stop that chatter? Because we are our own worst enemies, right? What would your advice be to somebody who's experiencing this lack of just not knowing your own worth?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And it really, it takes a lot of self-reflection, I think, to understand how to really get to the core of your feeling worthy, right? So a lot of times we go through life not understanding what is actually holding us back. So we don't know what we don't know. We don't realize that we're reacting to things because of a specific reason. Yes. So me being a people pleaser was a reaction or a symptom of the fact that I was insecure about myself. Yeah. And so I think, one thing to remember, or one thing to kind of maybe start out, is to tell yourself that in this life, the only thing that we can control is ourselves. Yes. You cannot control anything else.
You can't.
You can't control what happens to you. You can't control how people react to you. And so when somebody tells you something that makes you feel bad, a lot of times we take that and we think, oh, okay, that must mean there's something wrong with me because this person reacted a certain way. Yes. We don't realize that person is acting that way because of who they are and because of what's going on in their life. So their circumstances have shaped them into who they are, just like us. But what's
more about them than you.
Exactly. And what's amazing, though, is that when you realize that your circumstances do not have to shape who you are, you don't have to be a victim of your circumstances. You can choose to show up however you want. You literally can create every moment to be exactly what you want it to be. So if you're having an experience that's negative and it's making you feel really badly, you have the power and the control to change the way you're thinking about that. So looking at it as an opportunity, like, what am I learning in this situation? Why is this happening? It's not because I'm bad or wrong, or I'm not pretty enough or thin enough or smart enough. It has nothing to do with it. Yes. And so it's changing your thought process, which takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of practice, but it's remembering that what you can do for yourself is to, like, you deserve to love yourself. You deserve to accept yourself and to know that you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now in this moment, even if you feel like you're not, because things aren't going well. There's a reason why it's not going well, and what are you learning, and where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? And tell yourself that is who you are. And
so self-love is a difficult theme for most people.
Yes.
And I always say that when you hear those voices speaking, would you say that to somebody else?
Exactly.
And a lot of times we are so hard on ourselves. Mm-hmm. The words we articulate, we would never use them on another human being.
Yep.
So as a coach, take me through a process. I've come to you, I'm needing your help. found out that I was this amazing coach who could help me just feel comfortable and good about self and move on with my life. Take me through a 3-step process, or what do you do as a coach to help?
Sure. Well, let me ask you this. Let's start with this. So it sounds like you are struggling with some self-confidence. So tell me, what would you like to, we have a few minutes here to chat. So what would you like to achieve in those few minutes that we're talking here?
To overcome my fear of speaking in front of people.
Okay, speaking with people. Okay. So why is that important to you?
I always find that when I'm in a group, I just don't have the courage to air my views or be heard.
So when you are with a group of people and you're trying to have a conversation or you're trying to speak up and share your voice, what comes up for you? What feelings come up for you when you're in that moment?
Extreme anxiety and fear are the two main things.
Sure. Okay, and so what typically goes on in your head? Like, what are you telling yourself?
Is this really important? Is my views worthy to be aired in such a meeting? Or I listen to something somebody else has said and I think, oh gosh, that was really smart. Will my ideas come across as smart? And I don't think so.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you said, are my ideas worthy?
Yes.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, when you talk about worthiness, 1 being not at all and 10 being absolutely, how worthy do you feel?
Probably a 5. I'm kind of in the middle there somewhere. I feel I have something to say, but just not sure it's worth putting it out there.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense that you'd have some nerves, right? Because I think we're always, especially with public speaking or just speaking to a large number of people, that's actually one of like the biggest fears that we all face is putting ourselves out there. So it makes sense that you'd have some nerves about that. But I'm curious, when you talk about, being at a level 5, what would have to happen in order for you to be at a 10?
Courage to feel the fear and just do it anyway. I love your process, Jessica. I can actually see what it is you do to help people. So let me take you back to a moment in time, to the younger you, before you discovered all of these methodologies and ways of gaining self-confidence and self-worth and loving yourself. If time was an illusion and you could go back to the younger you and have a conversation with that young woman, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give her based on what life has taught you up to this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I actually think about that often. I think what I would tell her, first piece of advice is that I would probably say to myself, you are a very creative, vibrant person who has a lot of love to give. And that is a good thing. And to express your love and express your creativity. I think the second thing I would say is that what other people think about you is none of your business, and that this is your life, and it is your right to show up as an individual and to follow your personal dreams and goals. And the third thing I would say is, and it's possible to be successful following those dreams and goals, no matter what anyone says to you, because you're passionate and you're ambitious and you're beautiful.
Okay, so on the same vein, if time was an illusion and your past, your present, your future existed in the same timeline, and you could teleport to the 100-year-old you sitting on your porch, having lived this amazing, authentic life, what would you say to her?
Good job. That's a great question. That's a great question. I have not thought about that.
I feel like you are living as a full expression of who you are right now.
Mm-hmm. I definitely try to be. I think what I've learned throughout this whole process, this self-discovery process and getting into the coaching, is that being grateful for things has really opened my eyes, because as you know, as everybody knows, life is unpredictable, and I don't know what's going to happen to me, tomorrow, 5 minutes from now. I have no idea. And being grateful for the people that I have, being grateful for the experiences that I have, being grateful for the ability to like have my health and to be able to do this, start this business and have support, and whatever it is in your life that you are grateful for, to stop and actually be present for the moments.
Yes.
Because that's really what it is about. Like, for me, I believe that life is I believe we are meant to be happy. I really do. And I know that there's a lot of pain and suffering in the world, but you might not be able to control the feelings that come up for you when something terrible happens. You're going to be sad or angry, and that's perfectly normal. And it's good to sit with your feelings. But then you have a choice. You can continue to be sad and be a victim, and then to tell yourself that your life is terrible. Or you can choose to move forward with that experience and then now the knowledge that you have, and move forward in a different direction. And I think that for me, I just try to look at everything as an experience and an opportunity. And that is why I think I'm so positive, because even when people are terrible to me or things happen, I always think I really believe there's a purpose for it. And I think that attitude has just allowed me to, it just makes it a little easier.
So whatever's coming at you in life, you just think there's a reason for this. And even though you don't understand it in the moment, the reason does reveal itself with time, correct?
Exactly. It's like 100%. In this moment right now, I might not know the answer, but I get comfortable with that. So I allow myself to be comfortable knowing that I cannot control what's happening, but believing that it's going to be okay. I don't know what that is, but I know it's going to be okay. And I just constantly remind myself of that. And that's the thing with self-love and self-care and positivity. It is a practice.
Yeah.
So you have to tell yourself that. I have notes all over the place reminding myself of all these little things, because it's so easy to get lost in your thoughts. I mean, and I still do it all the time. I absolutely have moments where I get down, right? But then I pick myself back up. I don't stay there for too long.
Yeah, you have to decide to get up.
Exactly. And that's the thing, because we all suffer. I mean, life is tough, but you don't have to stay there.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so I'm going to end our interview with another weird little question.
Okay.
Is there anything I should have asked you?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. Is there anything? So one thing that maybe I didn't mention, or maybe you asked me this in a different way, is, and perhaps this is a part of my answer from the beginning, but as a part of this journey that I'm going on, and a part of what I want to do with my life, is to really inspire women and people to be themselves. And when it comes to that self-love, I think recognizing your unique strengths and your talents and your quirks, like even something about yourself that you think is super weird or strange, something that maybe you're hiding because you think other people might not get that is what makes you amazing. And so I used to beat myself up because I was so kind. This is what I was saying before about being like a people pleaser. I was so kind that I would let people take advantage of me. And I thought that was a weakness. And then what I realized was that my kindness is not a weakness. And I should not let people take advantage of me, but it's okay to act kind when someone is not being kind to me, because what I realize is that it's about how I feel. And if I'm showing up with kindness in a situation where maybe someone's not being kind to me, I actually feel better because I feel like I handled the situation that was authentic to my values. And it's really not, it's not about the other person, it's about me. And so, you know, I would say to people who struggle to be themselves in situations, to really think about what their values are, you know, what's important to them, and to react with those values in mind and to make choices with those values in mind. I think that really can lead you to a fulfilling life when you're aligned with what you truly believe and what you truly want. And whether that's, you know, family or, you know, whatever your values are, always having those in the back of your head when you're making decisions, because then everything will come together and you can really be this whole person and really show up authentically. I don't know if that answered your question.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence this morning. You are an absolute ray of sunshine. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. I am meeting some of the most fascinating women with the launch of the Herstory magazine. And Jessica, it's been an absolute honor. I wish you luck with your coaching program, and we will include all of your contact details in the article for the magazine as well, so people can contact you as well as on the podcast. Have a fantastic day, everybody, wherever you are in the world. I will be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing woman sharing her story. Bye for now. Thank you, Jessica.
The end of yet another amazing speaker.
Money Magazine's best value car and
wow. So the day is unraveling in a very interesting way. We have had women from every single corner of the globe this morning. And it just excites me when I get to interview these amazing women, you know, one person at a time. I get to meet some really fascinating individuals who are playing the life game at a completely different level. My next speaker is again in the same kind of realm. This is a young woman that I met a few years ago. Her name is Jessica Williams. And Jessica went through a very tragic personal experience, but was able to turn that negative personal experience into something really good. And she's now helping and empowering other people who are going through a similar challenge. And she's transmuted a very painful experience into something gold. So, Jessica, thank you so much for this interview. Wonderful for me to be able to share you with our community. I can't wait to see what else you have done since the last time we spoke, but I do know that exciting things are ahead that you will bring to the world. Thank you. Hi, everybody. This is Gertrude Mache here in Wellington, New Zealand. I have the honor of interviewing yet another amazing young woman all the way in America. Jasmine, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, the Her Series podcast is here to highlight women's stories all over the world. Please just say to everybody exactly where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Yes, well, thank you again for having me. My name is Jasmine Williams, and I'm 24 years old, based right outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. And originally, I am a Maryland girl, born and raised, but I traveled a little bit down south for college. I went to North Carolina to High Point University. And I kind of started out like every other college kid. I was really excited. I was definitely that eager beaver that wanted to join every club and knew that I was going to change the world, but wasn't quite sure how I was going to do that yet. And I felt like High Point was the perfect place for me to do that. There were so many opportunities there, and the campus is incredibly perfect. If you've never seen it before, definitely look it up. But I was just really excited about this new chapter of my life, and little did I know what that chapter actually would hold for me. I started out really involved, really excited about my coursework, and I knew from day one that I wanted to be a journalist. And ironically enough, if you know me today, I am not a journalist, so that's a little bit funny. But I tell college students a lot that if you go in with a major, you're probably going to come out with a different major, and that's okay.
I love it. Life takes you on these little detours, right?
Yes, it does. Some longer than others, but that's okay. So I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I knew that I wanted to work at CNN. Again, they're not my current employer, didn't end up there, but that's okay. But so my freshman year, I felt like I was really getting situated. I was really getting acclimated to the campus. I had some incredible friends, was in some incredible organizations. Mentoring with Big Brothers Big Sisters was one of my personal favorites. And then I kind of hit this roadblock right around my 18th birthday, where I kind of had that moment of, do I really want to major in journalism? I'm getting kind of homesick. These people are starting to annoy me. I just miss my mom and my dog. I want to go home. And so I turned 18, and ironically enough, 1 week after I turned 18 was probably when I first felt like an actual adult. And I kind of felt like I was going to turn 18, and then it would be a while before I really had to do some grown up type of things.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way for me, because 1 week after my 18th birthday, my mom called me, and I was actually watching the Giants game in one of my friends' rooms. And my mom said, "Hey, I need you to come outside." And as I mentioned, I'm from Maryland, and I was all the way in North Carolina for college. And I remember as I was walking to my mom's car, kind of replaying in the back of my mind, like, what could I possibly have done that my mom got in her car and drove 6 hours to come yell at me right now? And I knew the minute that I saw her that it was far greater than anything that I could have just done, that something had obviously happened. And unfortunately, my mom became the bearer of the bad news that would eventually change my life. And, as soon as I saw her, I kind of was like, just tell me what happened. Just give it to me straight. Don't sugarcoat it. What's going on? And she told me that, unfortunately, my older brother had actually died very unexpectedly. And I think the reason that it was so shocking to us, obviously losing anyone is shocking, but he wasn't sick. He didn't have cancer. He didn't have a chronic illness. He was young. He was in his 20s, and he was full of life, ironically enough. And so it really kind of just rocked all of us to our core. And we really each kind of worked through it differently. But I think for me, for a little while, I kind of went into like a hibernation mode almost, where I could not focus on anything other than getting through the day. And that really became my goal, was to get through today. And then once you get through today, you can focus on getting through tomorrow. And once you get through tomorrow, you can focus on getting to the weekend. But kind of thinking about things like, do I really want to major in this? And what am I going to do? And where am I going to live after college? Those thoughts had gone so far out of my head, and they were so low down on the totem pole at that point that I really wasn't giving much thought to them at all. And so, at that point, I kind of found myself almost just going through the motions day to day. I wasn't really, in hindsight, I wasn't really reaching my full potential, and I wasn't doing as much as I felt I should have, I guess is the right way to phrase it.
Whew, that is heavy.
Yes, it was. And it still is. Yes.
It sounds to me like you took on a bad situation, and have turned it into something good. Tell me a little bit about the lessons you learned from this experience, especially when it comes to reflecting on life.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson for me, and I didn't realize it right away, it took me a couple years to get there, but the biggest lesson for me was that in going through the motions day to day and in kind of just getting by, I was doing just that. I mean, I was I kind of jokingly tell people that I was half-assing my life.
Yeah.
And I think that once I realized that, and once I kind of had that light bulb moment, I really became committed to figuring out how I could change that. And the best thing that I could think of was I also had this realization that I wasn't alone, and that as obvious as this kind of seems, grief makes your mind work in kind of a crazy way. I kind of had this light bulb moment that someone else will eventually, or has already, lose a brother.
Yes.
And I think once I said that out loud to myself, I realized that I had almost unintentionally joined this kind of club that I didn't want to be in. And I now had a responsibility, I feel like, to share the journey that I've been on and share the struggles that I've had on this journey, and figure out how I can help support the next person that may go through what I've been through. Because I think that if you think about the most recent problem you've had, whether it was something as drastic as losing a loved one, or not having enough parking on your college campus, or, spilling your coffee on the way to work, someone else has gone through that, and someone else will likely go through that same problem.
Yeah.
And if someone else had helped you figure out what to do when you were kind of at your rock bottom with your problem, whatever it was, how much easier would that have made it for you? And so I've kind of tried to use that as my guiding force moving forward in making sure that I'm doing everything within my power to make it easier for the next person that's unfortunately in my shoes.
Oh, wow. So what type of events do you do your presentations?
Yes, so more than anything, I like to speak to college students. And I think that's because such a significant part of my own story happened while I was in college, while I was just a freshman.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that I say to them pretty often is there are students sometimes when I look out in the audience and you can tell they're like, this has never happened to me, or I'm an only child. And I always make a point of saying, this is not just if this ever happens to you or if this has happened to you, but chances are someone that you know will go through this or go through something similar to this. And I think for me, the most important thing was when I stopped thinking about how my loss impacted myself, and I started thinking about how I could use how my loss impacted me to help other people. And so I think if we all kind of take that mindset, it can just do incredible things for all of us.
Oh, man. It's amazing what a situation like this will do to help you grow up and grow up really fast. I reflect back, when I read your bio on my own situation with, losing my brother at an early age as well.
Yes.
That one of the things that death does is it helps you reframe, helps you see how short this life is, correct?
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
And a lot of times people go through life kind of sleepwalking, not fully awake and aware. And I always say that my brother gave me back my life. He literally gave me back my life because we are living in borrowed time.
I love that. That's a great way of putting it. I agree.
So if you were to talk to somebody right now, let's go back to your younger self.
Okay.
That very moment when all of this happened, and you were to impart some nuggets of wisdom based on what you know now. Give me 3 things that you would tell that person.
Oh.
Especially when it comes to dealing with grief.
I think the biggest number one thing I would say, grief, anything that you're going through in life, is comparison is the thief of all joy. And I think especially for my generation, this can be really challenging with how active we are online and on social. And you find yourself comparing to, oh, so-and-so just got a promotion and I'm still in the same job I had since, graduating college. Or, oh my gosh, my friend just got a new car. Like, I can't afford to get a new car right now. And you find yourself constantly comparing and contrasting. And all that does is make you feel less than. And all it does is make that person feel less than. It very seldom helps us to compare. Yeah. And I think the only time that we should be comparing is when we're saying, oh my goodness, you're going through this. I've been through that problem. Let me help you. Yes. And so I think that would be my second thing. Something that I speak about pretty often is I always say that every single one of us goes through challenges. And I think the most important thing that we can do is when you're experiencing something challenging, say, you kind of get two options, right? You can say, I had to go through this lesson the hard way. So you know what? Everyone else has to go through it the hard way because I had to struggle. I had to take that really hard class. I had to learn how to drive stick shift on my own, whatever the challenge is, right? Or you can kind of take the second route, which is you can say, I had to go through this the hard way. What can I do to help the next person who's going to go through this get through it that much easier than I did? Yes. And I think a great example of that, one of the organizations that I write for and that I work for is called the Brand Girls. And essentially what they do, it's an incredible organization. They really work with female clients to help them close the confidence gap and help women feel more empowered in the workplace and their personal branding and networking. And I've worked really closely with their CEO for a while, and she is quoted all the time telling people that the reason she started this organization is because she wishes she had it. And I think that if we all kind of use that mindset of, instead of complaining that I struggled so hard with personal branding and my resume and networking, saying, I'm going to figure out how to do this. And then not only am I going to figure out how to do it, I'm going to teach it to other people. And I think that second part of I'm going to teach it to other people is really important.
And then that means that what was your biggest challenge has turned you into a teacher. We are we can become teachers. Oh, wow. You're an incredible young woman.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming online and doing this podcast. I wish you luck with your speaking career. Keep in touch with me. And where can people find you? Do you have a website?
I do. So my website, you can find me at jasminecwilliams.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you for your time and for having me. I really appreciate it.
Nice connecting with you.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yet another amazing presenter today. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Absolutely wonderful to have had the privilege of connecting with you. So let me share yet another group of presentations, videos from amazing women who are auditioning for the Herstory Online Summit, and a few more testimonials as well. We've had a lot of people audition for this online summit.
September 19, in the year 1972, my mother brought me into this world. I was a result of a woman trying to win her husband's heart, love, and attention back because my father had married another woman. 9 months before my birth, my half-brother was born. And my mother had 2 girls and 1 boy. My paternal grandmother told my father that he needed to marry another wife who would give him sons so that the clan name would continue. Hello everyone, my name is Ruth Dengwani and this is my story. So I came into this world because my mom was trying to win her husband's heart back. She was trying to keep her marriage. In those days, the African culture dictated that a man had to have more sons than daughters. And my mom already had 2 daughters and 1 son. This did not sit well with her husband's family. So they encouraged my father to marry another wife who would give him sons. So I am procreated into this situation. I come into this world with all these feelings, all these insecurities, all the fears that my mother was going through and fighting. They say that a child, even when they're still in the womb, can feel and carry their mother's emotions and fears and instincts because they are connected through the umbilical cord. So I come into this world already on a competitive note. And if you look at my life story, if you look at my timeline, you will realize that I'm a very competitive person because my mom had to compete for my father.
My name is Marche Rocha Gonzalez. I'm from the Woodlands, Texas. I'm 45 years old, and here's my story. As a child, I was exposed to sexual abuse. This continued for quite a few years, and even though I trusted and just loved people, there was something inside of me, something deeply rooted within, where I saw myself as unworthy, as dirty. This really took a toll on me by the time I became a teenager. At this point, I was suffering from suicidal thoughts. I didn't see the point in continuing. I'd numbed myself so much that I couldn't bring myself to so much as shed a tear. So thankfully was able to gather myself up and keep going. And it all came to a head at age 43. Even though I dedicated myself since 2008 in helping women heal, the reality of it was that I still had the trauma, deep-seated trauma, and so that all came out, and it took a toll on me. I started suffering short-term memory loss, and then eventually, having had developed some medical issues, my immune system was suppressed. I eventually developed sepsis. This really spiraled out of control, where I struggled just to keep a normal conversation. So at this point, my corporate career, I had really been thriving, traveling across the country, was being primed to move up the ladder, and was known for being articulate, calm in fast-paced and stressful situations, and just entrusted with a lot of authority and positions to help on and off site. So everything was stripped from me. I was known for being a fast thinker, and now here I was unable to speak for myself. My lowest point was standing beside my oldest son, having my power of attorney documents notarized, signing over authority for him to be able to handle my affairs. I'd reached the point to where I couldn't even communicate with my doctors. He'd have to speak for me. And so that morning, I awoke to find my tongue resting at the bottom of my mouth. And I didn't know if I'd be coming back from the hospital, being that we were on our way there. I wasn't sure if I'd be coming back, and if I was, and in what condition. So this was the lowest point of my life. Just having my entire identity stripped from me. But one thing that I did learn, after all of my MRIs and CAT scans and x-rays and all these tests that my neurologist had me take, it was my neuropsychological evaluation where it was determined that I was suffering from an emotional block. It was an NLP practitioner who helped me shed my painful past. So now I've dedicated my life as an NLP practitioner, helping other women break free from their past, their painful past, labels and identities that don't serve them. I love what I do, and I'd love to share some of these steps. Be grateful for the opportunity to do that. So there's no limit to what you can accomplish, especially in this digital age, and I'd love to share those tips with you guys. So thanks for the opportunity. Have a great day.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid of losing my life to the mountain and not returning to my family. But I'm also afraid of not really living. I asked my father permission to climb mountains, and his response was a quiet no. From the moment I opened my eyes, I was a dreamer. Until the moment they close, I'll strive to realize them. What I fear the most is what moves me. And up there I fight my demons. My fear of giving up far exceeded my fear of the mountain, because I would not accept the shadow of myself. It's my dream to see a generation of girls where there are no longer any firsts, because all of them have been conquered. And if by sharing my story I can help even one girl inch closer to her dreams, then my efforts would have been worthy. I climbed so that the only mountains the next generation of women scale are of rock and ice. And the only weight they carry is a trophy. And the only lines they face are the finish lines. This is why I climb.
And that was the first Saudi woman to climb Mount Everest. Absolutely amazing young woman who I had the pleasure of interviewing not so long ago. She overcame all the odds, coming from a Muslim, predominantly male country where girls don't do things like that. But she went on and climbed 14 mountains all over the world. So Marwa is a classic example of what one young woman can do when you have a vision and when you have a mission. So thank you for sharing your story with us, Marwa. It was so fascinating when I got to hear your story. I got to share it with our community, and you truly, truly, truly inspire me. So the next story is coming, I think, again from the United States. A young woman from Canada who wrote a book based on a true story. Fascinating, intriguing. I'm always blown away at the number and the caliber of people that I get to meet with this job. Thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you for your story.
I am Deborah Levison, a lifelong writer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. And today I am graced with yet another creative, amazing young woman coming to us all the way from the United States. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your magical story with us today.
Hi, so I am Deborah Levison, and I don't know if I'm all that young. I'm 56 years old, but I'm actually in Trumbull, Connecticut in the USA, which is a little town about an hour outside of New York City, not too far from the water. And not the place where I grew up. I actually grew up in Toronto, Canada, and ended up landing in this little town. Ironically, never thought I would end up spending so many years here, but here I am. So dual citizen, Canadian and American, and a lifelong writer. Ever since college, I've been a professional journalist. I've been a ghostwriter, freelance writer, and publicist, and still have always had the lifelong dream of being an author. You know, when I was little, I spent a lot of time in my little local village library. And summers, especially rainy days, sort of roaming the dusty shelves and always wishing that I had a book of my own on the shelf. Maybe it was a matter of not being able to do other things. I mean, I certainly couldn't do anything math related, but I always wanted to be a storyteller, and I always wished I had a book of my own. The thing was, I wasn't sure what to write about. And sort of in my teens and early 20s, I was just into very fluffy contemporary fiction. And so I thought, okay, that might be the way to start. And then it wasn't until 2010 when something happened to my family that actually set me on the path of writing my debut book. And I'll just show you a copy. This is The Crate, my debut nonfiction true crime story. And here it is in audio. And this is not a book I ever expected to write, because in 2010, it started with a phone call. I'd already been living here in Connecticut. My brother called from Canada to say that he had discovered a wooden crate. It was nailed very tightly shut. It was shoved underneath our family's lake house north of Toronto in this very pristine, very beautifully wooded region of Canada called Muskoka. And when that crate was opened, the contents were just horrifying. It was absolutely the most awful thing you could ever imagine. And so the contents, this discovery, it just rocked my family. I had 3 young children that I felt I had to protect from the violence of this whole situation. My husband and I were completely freaked out. My brother became a murder suspect. And of course, the story was carried coast to coast in all the media. It was in all the headlines, it was on television, and on the covers of magazines. And the worst part was that my parents, who were elderly at the time, they were traumatized because the violence of this whole situation, the evil of the situation, it dredged up all their memories of having survived the Holocaust. My parents, both Holocaust survivors, both, went through the most horrific experiences in the Second World War, concentration camps, death marches, cattle cars, starvation, losing all of their families. And when they came to North America as refugees in 1956, they thought they left the violence behind in Europe. They thought they were coming to a place of calm and innocence where they could forget the horrible memories, and it was a place of refuge. And especially this lake house of ours, which they built by hand in the 1970s. This place, our cottage, it represented sanctuary for them. And so the crime that we discovered in 2010, which was fresh, by the way, I'm not talking about an old crime. We're not talking about bones here. This crime, it defiled their sanctuary. And so it really traumatized them and the rest of us. And I have to tell you, I'm embarrassed to say that for the first few days after this discovery, I was really trapped in my own head in terms of, how does this crime affect us? How does it affect me and my immediate family? And it wasn't until there was an autopsy and an autopsy report that showed that the victim in the crate was a young woman, a young mother, that I started thinking in terms of, okay, wait a minute, there's an actual victim here who has a family, who has loved ones who are, certainly grieving and just traumatized beyond anything we're feeling. So I started thinking in terms of the victim and thinking that maybe I could give her a voice, because clearly she no longer had one. And over time, over a few years after the discovery, it occurred to me that I could tell the story of what happened to the woman in the crate and give her a voice, because the media certainly wasn't doing anything to benefit her. It was really blaming the victim, which is pretty common. But I thought I could give her a voice. And in order for readers to understand the full context of what the discovery meant to my family, I would have to put it into the context of my parents' Holocaust experiences. So I took those two stories of the woman in the crate and my parents in the Holocaust and intertwined them in the narrative. So it's really evil in the past intersecting with evil in the present.
Wow. What an intriguing story. I can't wait to read this book now. Now, if you were to go back to the younger you when all of this was happening, I can imagine that your whole family was in turmoil with such a situation.
Absolutely.
And people get caught in situations like this, totally blindsided. You don't even see it coming.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Especially, we live such an easy life. I like to say that we live in a bubble where you read about things like this happening, but it's always to somebody else. And as it turns out, I actually knew the murderer.
Wow.
A whole other dimension here, but again, not someone who I ever would have suspected in a million years, someone who came across as perfectly nice and normal, which is actually a theme of the book. How do you know what people are like underneath that sort of normal veneer?
Surface, yes.
You don't know what your neighbors are capable of. You don't know what people can do. And it was the exact same situation for my parents back in Eastern Europe of the 1940s. They had no idea what their neighbors were capable of.
Wow. I don't know where to start. It's not every day that I am completely lost for words in a situation like this. I've never heard such an intriguing story or met somebody who's actually lived through such an intriguing story as well. And I think that the layers that you bring as an artist, as an author, is again going back to your background, your legacy story with your parents, and now weaving that all into the present moment in time. So as an artist, as an author, as a woman, what did you manage to do with all of that negative publicity? Because, you know, a lot of times we get stuck, we get caught up in the negative of what's going on. It sounds to me like you were able to transmute that in a very magical way.
Well, by negative publicity, I'm thinking you're talking about the coverage of the crime itself and
yes.
the negative light in which they cast the victim. You know, I think all we can ever do in terms of combating any kind of media misconceptions is tell the truth.
Yeah.
That's all we have, you know, to combat any kind of twisting of the facts. We have to tell the truth. And so fortunately, I was able to get in touch with the victim's mother and sister, who actually figure quite prominently in the story. And they were able to tell me, you know, the real facts of the victim's life. And her name is Samantha, by the way, and a beautiful young woman who had 2 children. And so with their help, I was able to talk about who she really was, not, you know, not just defined by some of the more questionable choices she may have made, because we all make poor decisions sometimes. But instead of being defined by that alone, I was able to, you know, talk about her as a human, in terms of her humanity, in terms of her being a daughter and a sister and a mother. And so that's the story that mattered, and the fact that she did not deserve what happened to her. And you know, this issue of domestic violence, which is what her story boils down to, is again something we need to be talking about. And maybe it's uncomfortable for the press to cover it, but that's what we need to be talking about.
Wow. Now, if you are going to look into your future as a writer, I'm pretty sure there's going to be many, many, many more books still to come. Where is your career going right now?
So, so having my first book out, having The Crate actually in bookstores and in libraries on a shelf, which is my dream, it just makes me want to keep going in that direction and do better. You know, I was very fortunate that The Crate had wonderful reviews and won a bunch of literary awards, which just makes me so happy.
Wow.
But more than that, what I love is hearing from readers that it resonates with them.
That's awesome. And do you
that
think
they
that
can
you
relate
will
to the issues that I talk about?
Yes, that's what's going to be my question. Do you think you will continue writing, wrapping real life women's stories as part of your writing style? Because I think it's going to be really powerful.
So the answer is yes. I'm on my 3rd book, and
okay, I was right.
Well, interestingly though, my 2nd book is also based on real life stories, horrific stories, but they're not women's issues, they're men's issues, which I think is just as important to talk about when men are victimized. And it turns out that I was privy to a bunch of lawsuits, specifically about men, middle-aged men who came forward to talk about really horrible sexual abuse that they lived through in very elite, very prestigious private schools in New England. And of course, it's not limited to New England. This is a problem that is everywhere in the world, all over the US, Canada, and abroad. And I read through the complaints of these lawsuits, and Gertrude, you just would not believe what these people suffered. You would not believe the systematic abuse, where everybody was either in on the abuse or turned a blind eye, but nobody helped these boys who were vulnerable and trapped, and of course didn't have a voice to speak out because they were young and frightened and often blackmailed. And so I really felt that this was, again, an issue that had to be tackled. And if I wrote a book and even, you know, one person was sort of compelled to come forward and tell his own story, then it would be a success. So I wrote the book. It hasn't been published yet. My agent has it, is about to try to sell it to a publisher right now. Right. So I have my fingers crossed. But yeah.
Wow. Well, I am so happy I got to meet you. I think the power of storytelling brings an awareness and shines a light to issues we have in our societies. You got to tell the story of a young woman who couldn't tell her own story. There's so many people who are voiceless, one, because they're dead and they never got to say it, and others who are just in countries and places where they don't have a platform. Right. So thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Storytelling is powerful. It changes lives.
Yeah.
So when you are 100 years old and you're sitting in your rocking chair with your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, based on how you're using the power of the pen, and you could have a conversation with that future you, what would you say to her?
So I'd be happy I did the one thing, which is preserve my parents' stories as a legacy for my own children and for grandchildren and future generations. Because the Holocaust is a subject that is very, not just near and dear to my heart, but something that I've lived as a child of survivors. It's shaped my own identity much more than I ever knew as a child. But, we also have the issues of Holocaust denial and whitewashing history and the lack of Holocaust education in the school curriculums. I don't know how it is in New Zealand, but here in the USA, I think we only have 17 states that mandate Holocaust education. And even that isn't a set curriculum. There's quite a bit of leeway in terms of how teachers want to teach it, or how much they spend teaching, how much time they spend teaching it. So there's a lot of work to be done in terms of education. But, to write my parents' stories down was, for one thing, it was a gift from me to them to preserve their stories in a way they couldn't do it themselves.
Yeah.
And then, I really wanted my children to know their grandparents' histories, their great-grandparents' histories. And, it was something that I spent my entire childhood questioning, where were my relatives? Why did I only have one grandmother when all my friends had aunts and uncles and cousins and 4 grandparents, and I had none? There was so much confusion surrounding who we were as a family, and so much, just so many questions, because my parents never talked about what happened to them. They never.
I went to Auschwitz not last year, the year before. My husband is Polish. So we went on this tour, and I remember standing in that concentration camp and thinking every human being on the planet needs to come and see what happened and experience it. And, just standing, it is sacred ground. Just standing there, you can feel it, you can absorb it. It's still with me. I still have never been able to shake off what I experienced there. And until we start sharing
this kind of history, the atrocities of the past, it will happen again. And it will happen again. And that's why history is important. That's why we need to teach children so that they can be better human beings going forwards. And I can totally understand why your parents never talked about it, because that's not something you want to remember. My in-laws, I got the pleasure of meeting my mother-in-law before she died. She missed going to the gas chambers. She was 12 or 13. She was working for a Jewish family, and they wanted her to work on a Sunday. And she decided that because she was Catholic, she didn't want to do that. And they reported her to the Gestapo. And she was almost put in one of those trains, but was saved by another family. And she ended up working in a hospital. And she tells her story. And my father-in-law was 14. And he was actually put on the train to Germany. And the story is he cried so much on the way there. When he got to Germany, he looked like he was ill. His eyes were puffed up. They sent him back to Poland. So my husband exists, and both his parents missed Auschwitz. And yeah, so I'm kind of in that world. I got to see it. I got to talk to people who have survived it. And you're so right, we should not forget. And the school systems need to do more to educate. Fortunately, countries like New Zealand do have it on the curriculum. It's something that is studied. I studied it in Zimbabwe. I'm from Zimbabwe originally. In Africa, these things are talked about. And you look at the genocide that happened in Rwanda, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So we do need to talk about it, and we do need to educate the future generation.
Absolutely.
So thank you for your work. Thank you for the work that you're putting out into the world.
Thank you. Well, we do similar work, I think. We do what we can to combat hatred, to combat intolerance, to empower women, and to tell stories. Let the men do the fighting, let the men do the big ego jobs, and I think the women can just quietly make changes through stories and education and dialogue.
Very, very true. We do need an injection of feminine energy in the world right now.
Absolutely.
And we will all play our small little parts in conscientizing our sons, our children, so we create a better world going forwards. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I tell you, I am just so thrilled and excited with the number of women I'm connecting with from all over the world, the different layered stories that I get to present and broadcast to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Come back again tomorrow. I'm going to ask Deborah to be one of our presenters at our next online summit. I'm hoping she will say yes. But have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. Tune in again tomorrow. This is Gertrude Mache in New Zealand. Bye for now. Oh, wow. What an amazing day, an amazing lineup of speakers. Thank you all for tuning in and hanging out with me today. Please comment, share, spread these videos through your social media. Make your friends aware that we have this 31-day marathon online every single day, and help us spread these amazing stories around the world. So have a good day, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with yet another Herstory Online Summit. And remember, register to speak. We are looking for speakers. We want to change the world one story at a time, one speaker at a time. Bye for now, everybody.